Giants' turn to try and answer. And here's Saquon Barkley. And he is off to the races. The 30, the 20. Saquon for 6. Deep to right field. Oh, baby. Put it on the scoreboard. The kid has done it again. Jordan. Open. Chicago with the lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lewis Sports Network. It is your boy Lewis coming back at you once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another video. Before we get started, y'all know the drill. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure those notifications are turned on, make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media platforms. Truly appreciate it. I apologize, guys, for pushing the time back. I had a lot of stuff going on, and then every time I was going to start on time, something kept coming up, and then I had to push the time back to make sure that I started on time. And then my camera was acting up a bit. So this is the best that it can do for right now. So unfortunately, I can't even do much, man. So if you see it a little bit dim and with the way it's acting, I apologize. But for some reason, the camera's just acting up. So I have to fix that issue. But it'll have to do just in this case. But anyway, man, salute to everybody in the chat. My special guest is Jay Jeff, and salute to you. I see you in the comment section. I know you're about to check in, but salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to the other Jay. Salute to Brandon, as always. Salute my brother. Salute to Joel Haber. Appreciate you. I know Freddie was up in here earlier, and shout out to Jay Jeff, man. I appreciate the $5 donation for the channel. Keep it. I appreciate that, my man. I see his new profile pic. He got Isaiah Thomas, man, from the Motor City. So you know he representing Michigan heavy. So you already know. And shout out to Freddie Gee as well, man. All right, Jefferson gang, we in here. That's right. All right, guys, man. So the theme of today's video, we are talking about how the 94 Chicago Bulls are in relation to the 2020 Toronto Raptors. And obviously, it's because of the Jordan and Kawhi effect. And I'll get deep into that. As soon as Jay checks in, he is my special guest. You know, I asked him if he wanted to come on so that he could talk about it because I know he's going to unload on Scottie Pippen because I know he's waiting for this, man. But salute to Ryan as well, man. You know, like I said, chat together, stream together, family for life. That's the motto. It's going to keep being the motto. And, you know, I'm really, you know, I can't wait to get started, man. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a live stream. I think it's going to be lit. Hopefully we could get some more people, more heads in here. Again, guys, make sure to like the video. Make sure to share this video to social media platforms, to other people that you know, so everybody can tune in on this channel. Again, salute to Raptors fans everywhere. We the North up in the 6. And also salute to fans of Chicago Bulls fans as well. So you already know, man. But we getting ready to cook. We gonna cook in this live stream, man. We about to cook. About to make some recipes. We're about to make some dishes full of content, man. You already know what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, man, it's been a while, man, but it's good to see my main man back in here. My man Jay Jeff, representing Detroit. What is good with you, my brother, man?
Hey, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly, bro. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's good, everybody in the chat? What's good, Big Lou? It's been a long time, bro.
That's right, man. Long time no see. I mean, see you always in the comments, man, but long time no see. But good to see you in here, man.
Yeah, good to see you too, my brother. Good to see you.
All right, no doubt. Because I know you got a plate full, man. You got a 5-course meal about to unload on Scottie Pippen, man. But you know, let's get the pleasantries out the way. And you know, guys, you already know this is Jay. He's always in the chat. Salute to Soccer Training Club. So, you know, I invited him to be a guest on this one because, you know, we was going to talk about, obviously, the Raptors and the Bulls, why they're related to each other. So let me start off the bat and ask you, Jay, you know, do you see similarities in both of these teams, you know, with the way that they played? And you look at the circumstances and what the Raptors had to deal with this year, and then what the Bulls had to deal with when Michael Jordan first retired from the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, yeah, I see a lot of similarities with both of these teams. You know, Toronto, they had Kawhi Leonard. He was like the Michael Jordan for their team. And, you know, the Bulls, they had Jordan. And, you know, he retired. and Pippen had to be the guy for the Bulls that season. And then similarities for this season for Toronto, Pascal Siakam had to be the guy. But, you know, Pascal, he disappointed me in the playoffs. He did, man. He just, I don't know, man. He just got to develop more as a player. But he can be good. He has potential, though. And Scottie Pippen back then,
Let it out, man. Let it out. Let it out.
Like I said, man, Pippen. Hey, but I'm gonna give him credit though. Pippen had an underrated season that season. He had a great season though. He really did, man. But like I said, he's not Michael Jordan. He's not Jordan, man. And he just didn't get the job done in the end.
Listen, man, I keep telling people this all the time. Listen, no disrespect to Scotty, but there's a reason why Scotty was wearing a pair of Jordan 10s in the 95 season when the Bulls were struggling. And he pointed right at who was in the bottom of that shoe. It's a little jump, man. And he was telling him what?
Yep. Come here.
That just lets you know that, man, that, Jordan was still needed despite. And I'm not here saying that Jordan didn't win without Pippen because it's obvious. No great player wins by themselves, man. But it just tells you the impact and the value Jordan had with the Bulls. That you needed him. I mean, there's nobody like him. Electrifying player, impact player, and his impact did show. I mean, people really don't understand that. The crazy thing he don't get enough respect for, Jordan does, is that he was there through the difficult times in Chicago and he helped them build it from the ground up. People are making it seem like if he had these assembled pieces and Jordan played at a time where there were cokeheads on his team. You got, what was it, Orlando Woolridge, who got kicked out. I forgot who the other player was, but he got kicked off the team because of his drug issues. So, Jordan dealt with a lot, man. I'm saying he's not perfect, but he dealt with his stuff, man. So yeah, like you were saying, man, Pascal, much respect to him for stepping up his game because I knew, just like the '94 team, it was like we don't want to be known as just a Kawhi. We were known as a quote unquote Kawhi carried us. And I was one of the first people to say that, Kawhi was a reason that, was a big reason why they won the championship. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and act like that Kawhi carried them because, they got a good team right there. So they proved it. What I'm just saying is where you need Kawhi and where you need Jordan is more so for the playoffs, not the regular season, because the way that they're constructed, they can survive without Scottie Pippen. But you saw what happened against the Boston Celtics. They needed a guy like Kawhi Leonard, even if they won 7 games. Again, much respect, but that's why you need a guy like Kawhi Leonard because he could take over the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but you do. I know you remember last year in those playoffs against Philly, and there was a lot of times where it was looking real shaky for Toronto, where a lot of guys who, when they needed to make big plays, some of them looked like they were just too scared in the moment. And can you tell the people in the audience and, man, for the people at home, what did Kawhi Leonard do in that Game 7 against Philly when it looked like that the Raptors looked like they was about to blow that game in a close game too?
Yeah, he just went crazy in that fourth quarter, man. I don't remember how many points he scored in that quarter, but, man, he did his thing, and then he hit that game winner, man. Like, he hit that game winner, man, that goes to the next round. So, Kawhi, man, he got Jordan-like tendencies, man. He's that guy. He's just not the only thing about Kawhi. He's just not a great leader. Like he's a quiet guy. You know what I'm saying? He's not vocal. But other than that, man, he's great, man. He's a great guy, great player. Yep.
No, yeah, and Toronto, his Raptor teammates were saying what Kawhi is really like behind the scenes. But when you look at the basketball court, like I said, Kawhi is just. He kind of gives me that KD type of feel in terms of at least I just want to go in, do my work, and go home. They're just about playing the game. Kawhi, again, everybody should know by now. He's not the rah-rah type of guy. He's more so that when he's with his teammates. But when it comes to on the court, you got asking him to talk, you asking him to do things out of his comfort zone. I know Greg Popovich was trying to get that out of him when he would tell Kobe to talk to Kawhi to try to see if he could become somebody more vocal. But Let me ask you something, man. Do you think that Pascal Siakam can take his game to the next level if the Raptors are really? Because what do you think the Raptors are missing? In order for them to try to become contenders again. And do you think Pascal is a number 2 or is he a number 3 guy in your personal opinion on Toronto?
My opinion on Pascal is he could be a number 2 on a championship contender team. You know what I'm saying? So he's good. He just got to develop. Like when he goes inside and tries to create, like when he goes to the basket, he got to be a better finisher. Like his finishes is not good, man, but he can work on that. But yeah, on a championship contender team, he could be a number 2 guy. I put him at number 2 on a championship contender team. He's a great. He's capable of being a great complementary player. But Toronto, they just need that Kawhi guy. They just need another guy like Kawhi for Toronto to win again, and that's it.
Oh man, so you know what? I mean, I can concur with that. I definitely think so. And I see some guys in the chat already saying Jay says number 3. He says he's a number 3 guy. Ryan says he's number 3. It's tough with Siakam because he's between, to me, a 2 and a 3. And the reason I say that is because I want to see how much can he develop, because this is really the first year that he really stepped up. And really became the guy on the team, and we clearly saw he was not the guy, obviously. And if you look at his moves, the way he creates is a little too generic. Like it's too simple, it's too predictable.
Right.
Like he has to become a little bit more unpredictable when it comes to him being able to create his own shot. Because the thing is that you can stop him easy anytime he would make a simple move. I know he likes to do a spin move a lot, but
he does a lot of spin counters.
Yeah. So every time he did that, like it was always getting stopped. So salute to Michelle's daughter. Appreciate you. Appreciate the $4.99 donation. Salute to Tara Matthews. I see you in the chat as well. So salute to you, sisters.
Yes.
Really appreciate that, man. Ladies
queens.
All right, that's right. The queens up in here in the Lewis Sports Network. So truly appreciate you, both of you guys. And all right, man. So I got to get to the nitty gritty, man. We're about to talk about those 93, 94 Bills. And I know you got to go. And like I said, we already gave Scotty his disrespect, man. But I know as a Detroit guy, I know you got a lot to say on Scotty because, like I said, when we compare both of these teams, if you look at the way the Bulls, people have to also understand this, man. You also got to remember era that they were in the mid 90s, early to mid 90s was not the same as we're dealing with today here in the late 2010s, early 2020s. Even though we see the similarities, you also got to remember. We also got to remember that there's also rule changes. When you look at the Raptors, they shoot more threes than the '94 Bulls did. So a different time period. It's not saying that players didn't shoot threes, but again, it's not at the level that we see today, where it's like the 3-point shot is just evident, even though it existed back then. So I know you got a lot to say about Scottie Pippen, and I want you to just kind of touch in on that '94 season. What he was with Chicago, in comparison to what Siakam had to kind of sort of deal with this 2020 team, and then I'll kind of touch up later on with Phil Jackson and Nick Nurse, but just give your take on Scotty in '94, because I know you got a lot to say on him.
Well, like I said, Pippen had his season that year '94 was underrated, man. That was a great season for Pippen, man. I mean, he had a career high. He averaged 22 points per game that season, shot 49% from the field. He averaged 7 rebounds or 8 rebounds, 7 assists. So he was doing his thing all around, man. I mean, averaged almost 3 steals a game, averaged over a block a game. So he was on it, man. He was doing his thing. But when it came to the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? He didn't do his thing. He shot poorly from the field against the Knicks. That series against the Knicks, if you're gonna be that player that needs to go to the next level, you gotta prove it in the playoffs, and he didn't do it, man. And his teammates relied on him. He quit on his team that one game. He quit on his team, and Tony Kukoc wound up hitting the game-winning shot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he showed bad leadership in that series. He just wasn't that guy, man. And I told people that he wasn't the guy. Like, everybody want to disrespect Michael Jordan, talking about, well, the Bulls won 55 games that season without Jordan. But you still need Michael, man. He's the greatest for a reason. Jordan is the GOAT for a reason, man. Pippen cannot lead you. He's not a franchise player. Pippen is a complimentary player. He's a number 2 guy. And he might be the best number 2 guy in NBA history. So I will praise Pippen. I'm going to praise him, too. I disrespect him, but I'm going to praise him as well. You know what I'm saying? And Pascal Siakam, man, he got a lot of potential, man. But he has raw talent. He got to develop more, and he just needs his offense is too predictable, like you were saying, Big Lou. He gotta find ways, like work on your post game, man, because he's a big guy. He's like 6'8", 6'9". So work on your post game some more, man. Work on your mid range. You know what I'm saying? He should call up Kawhi Leonard and they should train together, man, and help him develop his offensive skills more. But he got potential.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely for sure. So let me just say, Tyrann Matthew says Kawhi is not a good leader. I second that. 100% in San Antonio, he had Duncan, and in Toronto, he had Kyle Lowry. And I was saying this about Kawhi Leonard. I feel like low-key he missed Kyle Lowry, especially when you look at the season he had with the Clippers. And I was saying this about Way Off P. Yeah, y'all know who I'm talking about. Jay knows who I'm talking about.
Yep, exactly.
Way Off P. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Paul George could be good to borderline great. His issue is, for somebody who has good handle, he takes a lot of step back threes. That to me shows me right here. And to me, it shows me that he fully hasn't recovered from what happened back in the Olympics in FIBA and on those scrimmages in 2014 when he broke his leg.
Yeah, it's all mental. Yeah.
And that to me is a mental thing with him that he's still, to me, battling with. But to me, like I said, the fact that Ty Lue is coach of that team, I just don't know. I just don't know with Ty Lue. I know he won a championship, but we already know what he was. He was head assistant coach to LeBron James, but you already know. But anyway, getting back on Scottie Pippen, this is what I'm going to say about Scottie when I look at the 94 team compared to what Siakam is. The difference in this scenario was, as Jay mentioned, guys, Scottie was in his prime. Pascal Siakam is not in his prime yet. So he's not in his prime. So we don't know what Pascal Siakam is going to be at. He just won Most Improved Player just a couple years ago. He finally just stepped up and became an all-star. And Jay speaking facts, when you lose the best player on your team to a surprise retirement, and now you got to be the guy, and now you got to lead the keys, people got to remember this too. Scottie never really changed his game. It wasn't like he changed his game. All it did was he just became the number one guy, but his game did not change. That's one. Number two, Scottie missed 10 games that year. He missed the first 10 games of the season. With Scottie in the lineup, I think they were 51-21, I think was their record. They lost 6 out of 10 without him. But the system was still the same. And like Jay mentioned, Tony Kukoc was hitting game-winning shots during the season. This is something that people forget about Scottie Pippen.
Yes.
Tony Kukoc hit about 3 or 4 game winners that season. Please go watch The Last Dance because they mentioned that part. That's something that they kind of skipped over.
And my bad. I just want to say this one thing, Lou, and you can continue. You can say that Tony Kukoc. You can make an argument that Tony Kukoc was just as important as Scottie Pippen that season, if not more important. Like he was hitting clutch shots that season, man. I watched it out while I was growing up, man. I watched the Bulls game. I watched a lot of them, so I know about Kukoc. But go ahead, Lou.
No doubt. No, it's all good, man. And because I know if Freddie was in here, man, he would have been like, oh, see, he would have been like, see, yo, Tony Kukoc, I told you Tony Kukoc's talented, man. Super. I'm like, listen, Ron Harper, I would have gave you Ron Harper if Ron Harper did not blow out his knee, because he was never the same after he suffered those knee injuries. When he came to Chicago, he was a role player. This dude was a borderline all-star when he was with Cleveland. When he was with the Cavaliers, that dude was a borderline all-star. It's just when he blew out his knee, he was not the same player. So he was really more so he was just playing within the team role. So his job was to bring the ball up, because Phil Jackson, he loves big guards. Bring the ball up. Also, pretty much defend the point guards. His job was to defend the point guards or defend the 2 guards. So
he did that.
Exactly. So you already know that he would, him and Jordan at times, that they would switch when he was on the Bulls. So that's it. And that's why what I do is that I don't just go off of hypotheticals. I just talk like, and Jay's doing it right now. It's like, yo, you got to really look at the context and really study the team. He just mentioned about Tony Kukoc in that 94 team. People also have to remember this, guys. On that 94 team, Horace Grant, Scott
B.J. Armstrong,
right? Scott Williams. You're talking about Bill Cartwright. Those guys are still there. But who did they bring in that was not on that 93 team?
Steve Kerr,
Tony Kukoc, Luke Longley, Bill Wennington was drafted to the team. And those guys would be
Pete Myers.
And Pete Myers, those guys would be instrumental on that second 3P team, the ones that were able to stay when Jordan came back. See, but that's the stuff that they don't talk about. Also, who was still the head coach? Answer for that. Okay, Phil was still there. And then what offense were they still playing?
The triangle. Tex Winters was still there. Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. So the thing is, Scottie Pippen knows the offense. They're still playing the same offense. They just got a new core that's also trying to play the same thing. And also, I think you would agree with me, Jay. Remember that they was talking about how the Bulls look like they wouldn't even make the playoffs. I heard that the Bulls probably might have, but they weren't going to be one of the contending teams. No. And people forget that Horace Grant and B.J. Armstrong, both guys made the All-Star team that year. It was the only time that they were All-Stars that year. But
they sure did.
And why were they All-Stars? They were trying to prove that they were more than a Michael Jordan team, just like this 2020 Toronto Raptors team was. When Kawhi got traded there, they became championship contenders. Why? Because you can't win a championship with a DeMar DeRozan because he's not a championship player.
Right.
He's your second, but I can't even say second. He's your third best player on the championship. I can't even say second. He's your third best player on a championship team. Right. He's not even a legit number two. And the thing that kind of, and listen, I'm not trying to hate on DeRozan because I know DeRozan goes through anxiety and he has depression issues. And I think it's great that, players are, mentioning the things that they go through. But this is why I got pissed off at DeRozan because you wear a pair of Kobe's, bro, and you coming out and saying that if you had LeBron on your team, you will win. That's not the mind of a competitor. Listen, you know that you're not going to win against LeBron. We get that because he's got a better team and he's the best player on that team. But that can't be your mentality. See, you can see. I remember when Marcus Camby, when we were losing to San Antonio, we was down 3-1 in those '99 finals in the lockout year, and Marcus Camby came out and said we still better than them. He knows that's not true, but you can't give your team a lack of confidence. And you saw those Knicks; they play hard through the end. If they sure did. If they had size, Latrell Sprewell and Allen Houston wouldn't have been playing the amount of minutes they had to play, in that series. If they had the size, trust me, they would have been able to at least go back and forth with Duncan and Robinson. Because let's be honest, when
Patrick Ewing got hurt that season too,
and trust me, a fully fresh Sprewell and Houston, that's a little bit of a different story, man. So it's a bit different, but let me just look in the comments real quick before we continue. Ryan says PG always distracts himself all the time. That's another issue I have with him, man. He be staying on social media. Don't be talking about Damian Lillard and James Harden if you can't do squat yourself, bro. We should be calling you no-show Game 7 play way off P, man.
Boy George.
Boy George, that's right. George Paul. All right, Ron says the reason that the Bulls in that 93-94 season won 55 games is a good system, and they had some of the best players from that first and second 3P team. Pippen stepped up, and they had something to prove. And let me add something on to that, too. Pippen finished third in MVP. Yep. He was the All-Star Game MVP that year.
Sure was.
So when you're adding all that stuff, people are expecting, man, Pippen might prove people wrong, man. I guess because think how different you would look at Jordan had Pippen done something like led them to the finals at least that year, possibly even Eastern Conference Finals, man. If he would have did that, I know people want to talk about that Hugh Hollins call, possibly the Bulls win that series, but Pippen, you can't. I just really can't use that because you don't know what's going to happen in those other games. Right. And Pippen, and people forget this too. In that game 3, and you know this, Jay, and we saw it in the Last Dance, Mr. Showing poor leadership, Scottie Pippen
quit.
Why did Scottie Pippen quit? Do y'all remember a play before that, the previous possession? Pippen was calling for the ball and Kukoc did not see him and did not give him the ball. Yep. What did Scottie Pippen do? He berated Tony Kukoc. They don't talk about that. They never talk about that stuff. They never talk about it. They never talk about it. The previous play, the previous possession, Tony Kukoc did not find Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen was berating him because he didn't pass him the ball. Yep. And then when Scottie wanted to be and that's when Scottie said he didn't want to be part of the play. When Phil was in the team huddle. And this is what contradicts Scottie Pippen so much. He said if he would do that situation over again, he would have done the same thing. So how do you apologize, but you would do the same thing over again? That doesn't make sense, Scotty. That doesn't make sense. Now the difference is Siakam just goes with the team concept, but Siakam just plays within the team. He doesn't go anything against the coach. But that's what he does. So but yeah, Scottie Pippen, man, as great as he was that season, as great as he was, that series alone told me that they needed Michael Jordan, especially because if you go into next year, because if you everybody knows what happened the following year when they had a similar team. The Bulls struggled, and they were worse than what they were last year. Last year they played with something to prove, but who did they lose? Who was the key player that
Horace
they lost?
Grant. Horace Grant. They lost Grant. Yeah.
They lost Horace Grant. He was their best defender. He was their best rebounder. So
he was their best interior defender. Yeah.
Exactly. So all right, man, Jay. So let me ask you, man. It's crazy about Phil Jackson and Nick Nurse, because with Phil, the way I look at Phil is I thought his best coaching job was, in my personal opinion, at first I wanted to say this 55-win team. I first wanted to say that, but I felt his best coaching job was when he was with Kobe from 06 to 010. I felt like that time, because that was really the first time that Phil worked with something from the ground up in his career, from the ground up.
Because he had to go through growing pains and shit. Yeah. So yeah.
Even though Phil was having winning seasons, even though he was barely making the playoffs in the West, that was really, to me, his best work, because he still had that foundational piece in Scottie Pippen at the very least on that 94 team.
Correct.
Nick Nurse, very good coach, but in your personal opinion, do you think that Nick Nurse actually does more coaching than Phil Jackson does, in your personal opinion?
Yes, he does. Nick Nurse is a great coach, man. Hey, I'm telling you, I've seen that in my own eyes, especially last season when they won the championship, man. You can go back to that Milwaukee series, or you can go back to the Philadelphia series, man. Whenever you would think Toronto was going to get put out or something, man, he will always make the adjustments. Like, especially in that Milwaukee series where he put Van Fleet, when he gave Van Fleet more minutes, when he gave him more minutes like that, man, he gave him more confidence and stuff like that, called more plays for him. A lot of coaches not going to do that when he was struggling, because he was struggling at first. You know what I'm saying? But he kept sticking with him. A lot of coaches not going to do that, man. They're just going to take you out and they're just going to keep you out. But he had some type of faith in him, and he came through for his team. And Nick Nurse, man, he's a mastermind, man. He always makes the adjustments at the right time. I respect that.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I feel like with Phil is just very good at just motivating people with his mouth. But I feel like Nick actually really did. He really did coaching. If you look at his defensive schemes, this dude would be playing with different types of defenses. I mean, just look at last year's finals in 2019, playing a boxing one. I mean, you're playing a middle school defense on Steph Curry. You're playing a boxing one in the NBA finals. I had never seen that in all the times in the NBA finals. I've seen man-to-man. I've seen zones. I've seen shifting
zones. Yeah.
I've seen all that. I've seen full court press. I've seen full court traps, half court traps. But I've never seen a boxing one defense. And on an NBA player, I said, damn. I said, Nick Nurse went into his bag. When you think you couldn't find another defense, I'm like, and he found another one, and I was
he found it. That's what making adjustments. That's what I was talking about. He makes adjustments, man. He's a great coach.
Yeah, and the thing is that what I appreciate about him, and listen, no disrespect to Phil Jackson, because I think Phil Jackson is a brilliant mind. Don't get me wrong. Phil Jackson, you could tell that he's very intellectual. There's things that he sees, but I keep telling people all the time, Phil has been a beneficiary more than probably. You could probably say Red Auerbach probably is another one, but it was like even then. So when you look at Phil, it's like he had polarizing players compared to some of the players that even Red Auerbach had, because they weren't as polarizing as Shaq and Jordan and Kobe and to a lesser degree, Scottie Pippen. So that's the thing, man. And the thing is, the only thing that I would love to I want people to understand is that I would appreciate the new school if they respect the old school, because again, it's about the game. Because listen, and I'm pretty sure Jay's on this, man. You know, you want to see the game grow. Like you want people to appreciate what the game is today, but it's hard to appreciate it when you got new cats talking about. And I keep saying respect the elders, because I said the reason being is that I feel like this GOAT debate it's killed. And the thing is, even the legends that are chiming in on it, I really wish that they wouldn't, because to me it's really hurting. We're only focusing on Jordan and LeBron, where we're missing guys like your guy Isaiah Thomas. We're missing guys like Magic Johnson. Even though people say, oh yeah, we mentioned them in the top 10, but dude, guys like Kareem, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, those guys kind of get ignored. Like the Oscar Robertsons, Dr. J's, Moses Malone's, like we tend to ignore those guys. And it's like, yo, the Charles Barkleys, I mean, I could go on and on with that. You know, KG's, Dirk Nowitzki, we ignore them. We can't forget about John. But yeah, man, it's like again, when and this is why sometimes I tend to watch the old school games a lot. And I was just watching the '93 finals between the Bulls and the Suns. I'm seeing Jordan still in his prime against prime Charles Barkley. I know what people are saying. You know, Jordan, he ain't play anybody that was as good as him in his position, and he went up against Charles, who was a power forward. And you know, I mean, all right, you may want to see it that way, but I still kind of look at it as a superstar matchup. And the reason I say that is because, you know, Charles is trying to beat Michael Jordan. I mean, trust me, how much credit would Charles have gotten? How much different would his career would have been if you knocked off, at the time, the best player in the game? You beat him in the finals. You beat a team that was supposed to three-peat. Right. And you knock him off at the top. Think how different that would have been for Charles Barkley. Think how different that would have been for Malone, for Stockton, for Clyde Drexler. That would have elevated Magic even more, that he had beat Michael at that time as well, even though he didn't have Kareem. So, you know, so those are the things that people don't really think about. That they just kind of go off and just say, oh, you know, he didn't play this and this and this. But trust me, with the way Michael was talked about, how different it would have been for all those guys who played. All right, man. So, you know, getting back into this conversation, it's interesting when I look at both of these teams, and I would love to see, in your personal opinion, who do you think would benefit in which era? Would you think that the Raptors would benefit playing in that time period with their guards and even with their bigs? Or would you say the 93-94 Bulls team would benefit in this era?
The 93-94 Bulls would benefit in this era more than the Raptors would have benefited in that era that the Bulls played in. For the simple fact, the guards, Van Fleet and Lowry, man, they too small. Like, they would get exposed, man, especially on the defensive end. You know what I'm saying? They would get exposed, I think. The Raptors, though, I mean, not the Raptors, but the Bulls, that 93-94 Bulls in today's era, they will dominate because they got the size, man, and they got the versatility. And they are very athletic. They very long, lengthy. They will play. Their defense would be up there. They probably be number one in the defensive end. Yeah. Yep.
And people forget, man, that this Bulls team was still a very good defensive team, even if you take Michael Jordan off that team, because I think Freddie made a good point, and I just want to go to his comment real quick.
Okay.
What is it? I'm trying to see where it's at.
Here it is.
Okay, shout out to Freddie G. He says Nick Nurse is a good coach, but at the NBA level, personnel matters more than coaching. The superstars and stars, they dictate the outcome and more. Yeah, absolutely. No, I would definitely agree with that, man. Because you have to have a structure. I always say that you got to have an identity. Personnel matters in the NBA. Coaching can only take you so far. You got to have the personnel, because if you don't have the personnel, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. You're not going to be able to win unless you got the right personnel. It's always like we talk about. I mean, you look at, for example, look at a Mike D'Antoni. His personnel is, I got to have a team that scores offensively, but teams have played defense when they've won their championships. And if you can't preach defense, or you don't have some defensive personnel on your team, what good is your offense if you can't defend? So especially once your threes stop falling, can you score in the half court? You know, can you get some easy baskets? Like what kind of sets are you going to get some at least easy shots in the half court, or at least to try to get some in the paint before it starts to open up your outside game? So if you can't do that, then your team is not really a championship team. Like I don't care what anybody says. It's not a championship team. So it's interesting when I look at these two teams. The leader was supposed to be the small forward Scottie Pippen, and then when I look at the Toronto Raptors, the leader of this team was Kyle Lowry. Was Kyle Lowry the point guard? Mm-hmm. So that to me was really interesting. And even though they had the leadership, what's in common about both of these guys were they needed the superstar player to put them over the top, because like Freddie just said, personnel matters. So you had to have that number one guy on the team that's able to put that over the top. So we're going to continue to look at the comments real quick. Again, shout out to my main man, Jay Jeff, for coming through, being a guest on the show. Jay says there's a reason why all of Phil's success came with Tex Winter, because he invented the triangle offense. I saw a video of Tex Winter back in the late 50s talking about this triangle offense. But the way that people talk about Phil Jackson, they would make you think he was the one that invented that offense.
Tex Winter's invented that, yeah. Phil Jackson didn't even want to use it at first until Tex Winter, he had to convince him, man, that it would work. Trust me, you just got to trust it, and it worked.
And you know how bad it was, Jay? Remember when Doug Collins was coach?
Yeah.
He told Doug Collins the same thing that he told Phil Jackson. He told him, he said, try to see if you could use the offense to get better ball movement. Doug Collins looked at that and said it was too complicated.
Collins,
he wanted to do that 1-4 set with Jordan. It's like, and Jordan was happy because he was scoring the ball, but guess what? He would always end up getting frustrated because he couldn't win. So not only do your teammates have to develop, but you got to develop into a leader. You got to develop into a better player, and you got to be able to share the ball, play off the ball. And Jordan was able to do that, but he still was kind of ball dominant. And that was also because Jordan was really the only player on their team that could really create their own shot. The other players, they needed time to develop too. But also Jordan had a tendency to not trust his teammates, which is why they lost. And he and all of the players, they kept saying that when they kept running into your Pistons, they always turned them into individuals, because psychologically they were again, even though they were on the come up, the key thing is always psychologically. Remember, your mental's got to match your physical attributes. If they can't match that, you're not going to win. You're not going to get over the hurdle. So look at that. Detroit told Jordan, you got to go to the weight room. Told Scottie Pippen, you got to go to the weight room. I got to get strong to be able to deal with that physical pain. Now, how you going to deal with it mentally? So when I'm chirping and I say, go jump off the bridge, are you going to jump? Because if you jump, guess what? I mean, I want to pay you, but, you don't exist right now. So, and that's the thing. Let me just keep going a little bit quick. Freddie says, I've been watching hella hardwood classics, 98 Nets against Bulls, 2000 Blazers and Lakers. Let me just say about that 2000 Blazers versus Lakers.
Man. Yeah.
If you look at that game 7, that was my favorite game of the series. In my personal opinion, that arguably is not even top 10. I think it's top 5 in greatest playoff games ever, probably in the history of the NBA. Game 7 of that Western Conference Finals. If you look at what was at stake for both teams, you look at how the Lakers came back from 15 down. Remember, Shaq was the MVP that year. If he doesn't get by them, we talking about Shaq more different. If he doesn't win that. So let me just say, Freddie says, I've been paying homage to all my old school cats out there watching and breaking down film. Good basketball. Okay. Ryan says,
appreciate it.
Ryan says, do you think people think certain coaches are overrated because of maybe in the moment year if they won it or had a big turnaround year like Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Stan. All right, man. Let me ask you this question. People were giving me hate for this.
Mm-hmm.
I said, in my personal opinion, at first I thought Nick Nurse was one of those neophyte coaches when I first saw him, and I was like, okay, Kawhi Leonard got him to a ring. I got to see what Nick Nurse does without Kawhi. Same thing like what Phil Jackson does without Michael Jordan. What's he going to do without him?
Right.
But I got to say this about Doc Rivers, and let me know what your thought is on this. I don't care what anybody says. Doc Rivers, to me, is overrated. The amount of talent that you've coached in your career for 20 seasons, and you only got one championship. And if you hear KG, you hear Perk, and you hear Paul Pierce, with the way them dudes run their mouths, you would have swore that they won 3 titles in 4 years.
I know, right? I hear it all the time. Yep.
Or they repeat it. And it's crazy how Doc got that head coaching job already for Philly. But then again, I'm just saying to myself, now he's working. He's coaching another talent in that beat. Now the Sixers, they got some stuff that they got to fix, obviously, on their team. But what's your impression of Doc Rivers, man?
Listen, Big Lou. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, man. I knew Doc Rivers couldn't coach. I knew he couldn't coach, man. In that series in 2000, what was it? 2002, 2003 against my Pistons, right? They was up 3-1. We didn't even have nobody, man. We didn't have no superstar players. We only had Chauncey Billups. Rasheed Wallace was even on the team yet. We just had Ben Wallace and Chauncey. That's it. Tayshaun was a rookie. Yeah.
Didn't y'all have Rip too?
Oh yeah, Rip Hamilton. My bad. My fault on that. Yeah, we had Rip, but yeah, he had Tracy McGrady though. He had a superstar player in McGrady, man. They was up 3-1. Like, you gotta finish the Pistons off, man. He didn't make the adjustments needed. The Pistons did though. They put in Tayshaun. I think it was game 3 or game 4. They put him in the starting lineup, man. The rest was history, man. Like, he really bothered McGrady from there on out. And I was like, damn, Doc Rivers, you don't have no answers for that counter move that the Pistons did. Like, where was your answer at? And he didn't have any, man. That's why I say he's not a good coach. He's just not.
You know, I go back to that 2003 series when T-Mac goes up against Detroit. I'm saying to myself, it's funny how when you look at those Orlando teams, I know people want to say Tracy didn't have much help, but I look back on those Orlando teams.
He had players, man. Yeah.
He had players. And the thing is, look, man, those players on his team, they suffered injuries and they missed a lot of games. And you imagine a fully healthy team. You're talking about anywhere from 49 to at the very least maybe 50 to 52 games at the very least, especially in the Eastern Conference at that time. So I'm saying to myself, T-Mac, you had some balls, bro. It's unfortunate that Grant Hill was never really healthy. So, you know, that sucks. But the thing is, again, with Doc Rivers, dude, look at the talent you've played with. You had a prime T-Mac. You had KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and a young Rajon Rondo. You had prime CP3. You had Blake Griffin, JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford, DeAndre Jordan. That's a lot of talent for you to only have one championship.
That's too much talent, man.
and here's the thing. I know dudes love to get on LeBron in terms of like losing to Dwight Howard and stuff like that. But check this out. Despite the fact that Boston lost Kevin Garnett for that season with the Achilles and then the knee injury, they still had a 3-2 lead against Dwight. So how you ain't get the job done being up 3-2 against Dwight in Orlando? And they didn't have Jameer Nelson after he tore his ACL, and he was having a great year that year. So
he was an all-star. Yeah,
he was an all-star. So you didn't even have Jameer Nelson, and you telling me that you couldn't get the job done being up 3-2, despite the fact that you lost KG? That to me that just says a lot of that's a lot of excuses when I hear that. And getting back to Pistons. I think it was game 2, I believe. Tayshaun Prince actually had a pretty good game. I think he scored 20 points, 22 points or something like that.
Yeah, it was 22. Yep.
22, and I think he came off that was off the bench, and that actually helped the Pistons tie the series. But then the next two games, the Magic ended up beating Detroit, and I'm looking at it. I was like, damn, Detroit gonna lose to Orlando. I'm like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. So T-Mac decides to open his mouth and go, "Oh, it's finally nice to finally get out the first round." How you saying that if you ain't beat them yet?
Right.
It's the first of four. First of four.
Right.
And then, like you said, they put Tayshaun in the starting lineup, and T-Mac, he ends up struggling because then they started to crowd him. They started to collapse on him whenever he got to the paint. Right. And Tayshaun was using his length, and it gave T-Mac a lot of problems. And then T-Mac just started he took a lot of ill-advised shots too. So it just told me T-Mac's, even though, like I said, he can be an offensive beast when he's on, that was telling me that he kind of had a lack of IQ and didn't know how to adjust. But then also, as a coach, you have to help your player adjust to get him some open looks when the defense is playing like that. And because they lost the last 3 games and blew a 3-1 lead, when they could have upset Detroit, I mean, that would have been one of the biggest upsets in playoff history, even though Detroit was only a 50-win team that year?
Yeah, we was 50 and 32. Yeah, 50 and 32. Yeah.
And y'all was the number 1 seed that year. So that was the number 1 seed.
Which was crazy. I couldn't believe we was the number 1 seed. It was the East, and it was great coaching too. We had a great coach. Yeah. It wasn't. I don't think we had Larry Brown yet. I think we had Rick Carlisle. I believe it was Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle was your coach. Yeah. He won the coach of the year the previous year in his first year in Detroit, and I know Ben Wallace won defensive player of the year that same year. It's funny, man. I looked at y'all team, and I was like, the crazy part was y'all improved so much defensively. Yes. I was like, I get some better offensive pieces. I said, Detroit, they're going to contend for years to come. But it's like they didn't really become contenders until Rasheed got there. And then y'all got Mehmet Okur, and y'all get Lindsey Hunter, who was I think he was with the Bucks at the time. And then he came back after he was with the Lakers. So, y'all get him back because he started his career in Detroit. Right. And then, Chauncey and them, they just play out of their mind against the Lakers. I remember they almost lost to Jersey, and Jersey was not – J. Kidd was great in his prime, but I'm going to be honest. That New Jersey Nets team, that was not really a good team. Good defensive team, but not offensively. That was not a great team because
it wasn't.
I said it's crazy how they got to the finals back-to-back years, and they did better against San Antonio than they did with the Lakers, which is crazy to me. But
I couldn't believe it.
Shaq and Kobe, but it's nuts. Let me see. Okay. Ryan says that 2000 Western Conference Final Game 7 comeback reminded me of the comeback that tore the Tom Brady did against the Falcons in that Super Bowl. Yeah. I'm talking about the Falcons, man. You're going to get Freddie mad up in here.
Oh, man.
Shout out to my man Kenneth Wright. Appreciate you coming through. He says, damn, I missed the beginning of the show. I mean, it's all good, man. So Freddie G says, Lou, that's the one I was just watching. Lakers was down and Kobe played good-ass defense on Stoudemire and Smitty. Shaq was held in check. Game ball goes to Shaw, Harper, Ori, and Rice. They hit some big shots. Oh, yeah. What people don't talk about that game is the Blazers. Oh,
and speaking of the – Go ahead, Lou. Go ahead.
I was going to let you chime in on this because I feel like there's another idiotic narrative that's going on around here when it comes to Scottie Pippen and that Portland Trailblazers team. But I think I know where you're going with this. So I'm gonna let you get the first crack at this one. Go ahead, Jay. Let it out, bro.
All I want to know is what was his numbers in that game 7. I'm trying. I need to look that up because I can't remember what was his numbers in that game, man. I'm just trying to figure that out.
I'm gonna look that up, man. Let me look up Scottie Pippen's game 7. Here's what I'm gonna say about Scottie Pippen. He gets too much credit for that Blazer team when you're not realizing that they had.
He was the 4th option.
He was the 4th. That's what I'm saying. Like, now, listen, there was moments where Scottie was still playing some really good high level defense, even in the playoffs. But he was the 4th option on that Blazers team. first of all, they brought in Steve Smith. They're forgetting about that. Isaiah Ryder was gone. They brought in Def Left Shrimp.
Yep.
He was a 2-time Sixth Man of the Year. They're forgetting that. They have Rasheed Wallace. They had Damon Stoudemire, Mighty Mouse, as they call him.
Facts.
So,
yep.
I mean, former Rookie of the Year. So what are they talking about? That Scottie Pippen is the reason
that team was loaded, man. That team was loaded with talent. And Pippen was the 4th or 5th guy on that team, man. 4th or 5th option.
And what people forget was the previous year they were in the Western Conference Finals in the lockout, while Scottie Pippen got knocked off by the LA Lakers. Now, obviously, that was a more talented and younger team. But what I'm trying to say is that Scottie Pippen really didn't make them a better team. What they only did was that they just got a couple of inches. They didn't win a single game against San Antonio, but with a little bit of improved personnel, they went up against a different team, obviously in the Lakers, and they went to 7 games with them. But and in my opinion, Portland should have beat they should have beat LA. Because I'm gonna say this right now. I know Shaq was the best player in the entire floor, but he struggled in that series. That's one. Number 2, I felt Portland was the better overall team with the way they played, and they should have beat the Lakers. You are 15, you got to get that done. Because if you're trying to say Scotty's that guy, when he was the 4th or 5th option, he got to get that done. But this whole thing that Scottie Pippen, that he led them to the Western Cup. No, dude, they were in the Western Cup before that. And look at the team. Look at the players they had on that 99 team compared to that 2000 team. It was different. It's not that same team. Smitty was a former All-Star for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, y'all got to look at the Def Left Shrimp made 3 All-Star teams before joining this team.
And was Damon Stoudemire an All-Star at one time with the Toronto Raptors, I believe? Was he an All-Star with them?
I don't think he ever made an All-Star team.
He never made an All-Star team? Well, he was a good player. He was pretty good. Yeah.
But that dude was no scrub, though.
Yeah, he was no scrub, man.
Like, he was no scrub. I mean, I know he used to give he gave Kobe fits in that series with his quickness. So Damon could get to any spot on the floor.
And he was a lefty.
Yeah, and I like this medium range jump shot. I actually like the way
it's underrated. Hell yeah. I love that shit.
I love the way he attacked the paint, though. I love the way he attacked the paint, man. Freddie said Freddie says, Scotty choked like hell in that game 7, man. He didn't score but 3 points in that second half. Oh, Freddie got the numbers.
He got the numbers, okay.
My man said 12 points on 3 for 10 shooting.
Well, Freddie know Pippen ain't shit. He knows that. Shit. Shouts out to Freddie G, though.
Oh, man. Listen, what I said about Pippen was, man, I think Pippen, to me, is the greatest defensive small forward in NBA history.
Ever.
And Jay said it right here. Arguably greatest number 2 to ever play this game. Greatest number 2, I said greatest defensive small forward. So you can't tell me that I'm not giving the guy his props because that dude could defend multiple positions.
I hate Pippen more than any player, and I'm telling you this first. This is coming from me, and you know how I feel about Scottie Pippen, but he might be the best complimentary player in the history of the sport of basketball. And you hearing this from me.
Freddie B says, man, Bonzi Wells was getting off in the post. Oh, damn,
I forgot about Bonzi Wells. Oh, man. Yeah, that team was loaded, man.
Thank you for mentioning that. I still remember Bonzi was getting up 3-point shots. He was scoring.
They had a young Jermaine O'Neal. Yep.
It's funny, Jermaine didn't, and the funny thing is Jermaine didn't blossom until he left that team to Indiana, but that's because that team was stacked, though. It was a veteran team, but it was a stacked veteran team, so he wasn't going to get minutes on that team. That's what people forget.
Didn't they have Zach Randolph, too?
Zebo. No, I think Zebo came a little bit later, I think. That was probably a couple of years.
Probably 2 years later. All right, I
believe so, because I know he was drafted out of high school, but I think he was in the, I want to say the 01 draft, I think it was in the 01.
You're right, Lou. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because when I looked at that roster, I was like, I forgot Zebo. Imagine if they had him too. I'm like, that's young Jermaine O'Neal was holding Shaq down all game while Sabonis was in foul trouble, man. He was banging. No, Jermaine O'Neal,
great defender.
Underrated big man off his time, and a very good defender, good shot blocker too.
Yeah.
People forget that when Jermaine was with the Indiana Pacers, man, he was in his prime.
Yes, he was a problem, man. Ask the Detroit Pistons.
That's right. That's right.
Ask my Pistons. He was a problem, man.
It's crazy because when I look back on Jermaine O'Neal and I look at that Indiana Pacers team around 04, 05, I really felt like that the Pacers were going to become NBA champions sooner than later. But I feel like that malice in the palace. If you look at that
saved us.
If you look at that 04 team, I think Detroit would have gotten to the finals in my opinion. Because I feel like they had a shot. But I looked at that Indiana team that led the whole league. I think they had the best record that year in 04. I thought they would get there. That team did have some injuries going into the series, but can't take nothing away from Detroit. I still remember that Tayshaun Prince block. I think it's the greatest block.
Greatest block ever. I ever seen in my life, man. That was the greatest block ever, man. He came out of nowhere. I don't know how he did that, man. To this day, I still don't understand how he did that.
And the thing is, the crazy part is that Reggie is not the fastest, but and Tayshaun is not fast neither.
No,
it's amazing to me how Reggie has such a big lead, and Tayshaun was able to not only catch up with him. You see that big ass hand coming in like Space Jam when Jordan trying to dunk the ball about a monster, and he just blocked that. I remember Doc Rivers. He lost his voice when Tayshaun made that block. It was
hell
crazy.
Yeah. Doc Rivers went crazy when Tayshaun made that block. I remember that, man. That was an epic moment, man. But like, you know these.
He said, "Oh man, what a block!" I'm like,
but you know these LeBron sexuals, man. They gonna be like, "No, that LeBron James block on Andre Iguodala was the best block ever, man." Come on, man. Fuck out of here.
They're gonna say that because it happened in the finals, it happened in games, and it was against the Dynasty Warriors. But it's crazy how that Tayshaun Prince block doesn't get mentioned enough because you talking about playoff history. We're talking about the crazy part is if you want to talk about momentum, the Pacers have the momentum if he doesn't get that block. Like I don't know, it was something about that block for some reason that I felt like it just like changed like the tone of the series.
It did, because if he doesn't make that block, we'd be down 0-2, and we probably don't even win the series, bro.
And next you know, Reggie's going up against Shaq and Kobe again in the final. But this time he got a better team.
Yeah, Pacers would have won that. Yeah.
You gotta prime Jermaine O'Neal. Trust me, man. That was a different team. That Pacers team. They had Ron Artest. That team. This was young Ron Artest. I think Artest was Defensive Player of the Year that year.
Yeah, and he averaged 25 a game that season. Yeah.
So that lets you know right there. So Jay says Portland's coaching awesome did him in. Oh, with Mike Dunleavy.
Oh my God, he is trash.
My issue with Mike Dunleavy, man. Listen, he's a very good coach. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like psychologically, he kind of lost that locker room after that 2000 season. They were never really able to recover. I felt like there was some adjustments he didn't make in that game 7 that he should have when the Lakers were starting to come back.
Right.
He kept I don't know why his defense kept allowing all those open threes that Brian Shaw them and Rasheed should have used the post up a lot more than that pick and pop and 3-point.
Yeah.
I don't understand the Blazers because they were killing the Lakers in the post with Brian Grant and Sabonis. Sabonis was passing. I'm like, yo, the Lakers could not defend that. Why were y'all getting away from that? Instead, you got Pippen and them settling for threes. I'm like, Pip, you're supposed to be leading the team. Tell them to keep posting up.
Well, was disappointing me. He kind of reminded me of what Webber did to the Lakers. He was posting up Samari Walker, and then he decided just to shoot jump shots the rest of the way. Like, come on, man. Don't do that.
Yeah, man. Okay. Ryan says, what's your personal opinion about the Malice in the Palace? I mean, yo, you're talking about the crazy part about Malice in the Palace. Changed a lot of things in the league. You look at what happened. They were saying that the league was having this thuggish hip hop image. Obviously with the whole thing with AI and the cornrows and the tattoos and what he was presented as an image that Stern didn't like. At that point in time, a lot of fights were going on in the NBA, on the norm. Guys, and I'm not talking about no pushing and shoving or just chirping. You talking about guys. There were times when guys would, fully go on and full go on swing. And you look at that malice. Look at that malice in the situation. The crazy part is, I'm pretty. I'm pretty sure that Jay remembers this and how it happened.
Yes.
Ben Wallace had lost his. I think it was his grandmother or was it his mom? One of the two.
He lost his mother. Yeah, he lost his mom.
So it was his mom. So you already know the state of mind that Ben Wallace was in. The Pistons, they were already losing. I think the Pacers, they got
getting blown out. Yeah.
and the Pacers, they got off to a great start that season. Just told you that they looked like they was on their way to having the best record in the league again. And I think Reggie Miller was hurt at this time. Yeah, so Ron Artest missed that hard foul. It's the fourth quarter. Pacers, they're gonna win comfortably. I remember Ben Wallace flipped out. And at first, when I first saw it, I said, now a part of me was like, okay, Ron is committing a hard basketball foul. I kind of didn't understand why he kind of fouled him as hard as he did. And then I kind of looked at Ben and I'm like, Ben, you got to chill. This is kind of like normal. This is how guys bang in the paint when you guys commit, these physical fouls. So I was like, man, you know what? Ben Wallace kind of took that out of proportion. All right, so pushing, shoving, Ben wants to go at him, fine, whatever. Ron Artest sits at the scores table. He's just chilling. Somebody decides to throw beer. And then all hell breaks loose. Steven Jackson was on that team. I forgot that Steven Jackson was on that Pacers team when he went out in the stands and attacked. And the worst part about that Malice in the Palace was it was happening in front of children. So when I saw that, I said to myself, I know there's going to be a lot of changes after what happened. I mean, you had Pistons fans throwing beverages. I mean, it wasn't just Pistons fans, but, obviously because of the Palace of Auburn Hills. That was a very dark season for the NBA. It was a very dark season for the league. And I'm sure Jay would attest to that because look what it cost the Pacers. Jermaine O'Neal missed 25 games that year. And even though he was defending himself, so I would you're not gonna give him a pass because he got involved in a fight, but he wasn't trying to fight. It's just he was being attacked by fans. So you got to defend yourself out there because Ron Artest, he suffered the worst blow of them all. He went suspended without pay. So that hurt. You lost your best perimeter defender, and then the Pacers won 25 games without their best post defender. And I know Detroit has some, they had some penalties of their own. Obviously, Ben Wallace missed 15 games, I think.
Yeah, he missed 15 games. Yeah.
So it just lets you know, Jay. What do you remember most about that Malice in the Palace, man? Like, what stood out to you, man, when that situation happened, when Malice in the Palace happened?
Man, being from Detroit, I was kind of embarrassed, man, because it was crazy, man. You had all these kids that was at the game that night. You had babies out there, man. These players going to the stands, fighting and stuff like that. Fans reacting, they throwing beers at the players, throwing flying objects at the players. It was uncalled for, man. I just felt embarrassed, being a Detroiter. I just felt embarrassed, man. And I'm glad the league did what they did, man, because it was needed at that time.
Yeah, man, I feel you. And it sucks, man, because then it was trying to see games where, I couldn't see a Jermaine, I couldn't see Ron, I couldn't see Ben Wallace, man. Guys I enjoy watching play. Because Ben Wallace to me should be. If some guys are getting in the Hall of Fame, Ben Wallace.
Ben Wallace should be in the Hall of Fame, man. They letting these guys that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame in there. Then you gotta put Ben Wallace in there, man, because he was a very impactful player on the defensive end. You know what I'm saying? I know offensively he wasn't that guy, but defensively he was very impactful. Maybe one of the greatest impactful defensive players in the history of the sport, man.
Yeah,
Ben Wallace.
Jay says that's why Reggie didn't dribble the ball that much. Always looked like he found the only quicksand on the court. I mean, Reggie wasn't good. he wasn't good on that dribble, man.
He had no handles, man.
Now, Yo, Jermaine O'Neal's post game is so underrated. Doesn't get enough credit for how much of a pretty good post up game he had. He was a pretty good post up player, really pretty good post up player. Portland always went away from Bonzi Wells in the post. What people fail to understand, and Jay makes a good point on that. Bonzi Wells was a mismatch for the Lakers, and it's crazy how Mike Dunleavy kept him away from the post when he should have kept posting them up more. Because if you look at Portland's team, they had a lot of guys who could post up, but it wasn't like if they were a stagnant post up team. Some of the post up players will be out on the perimeter. If you look at like a Rasheed Wallace, he should have been in the post a lot more. So Bonzi Wells,
Steve Smith should have been in there too. He was a post up guy.
Dude, I stand when I think it was in Game 7, when they was cooking in that third quarter. Steve Smith was mixing it up. Yeah, he pulled up for 3. He got some open threes, but dude, that dude was posting up. He hit a nice, I think, turnaround jumper on Ron Harper. His
post game is underrated in the history of the sport, man. He had a crazy post up game. Steve Smith and the Detroiter. Yep.
That's right. Michigan. Freddie says, I'll say Tayshaun had a more impressive block because I don't know how he got that. Like I said, when he I forgot who was the commentator in that game, but he was even saying, how did Tayshaun get there? That was the first thing I said when he got that block. I was like, there's no way.
That's what I said, man.
And he just came with that.
That was some fucking Fantastic Four shit, man. I don't know how he got there.
That was a Mr. Reed block. My man turned into the rubber band man and just blocked.
Hell yeah.
I said, yo, he's not even fast, and he was still able to get that. Like,
that's some Inspector Gadget shit.
There you go.
God damn.
Freddie Gee says, I was in 5th grade when Malice in the Palace popped off, man. I remember watching it on ESPN all night. Yeah, no, that's all they talked about. I think it was talked about for like a week.
They talked about that forever, man.
People, when I stopped talking about that, man, that to me was crazy, man.
Yeah.
It sucks, man, because I feel like the league column would have been a little bit different and I think more enjoyable. I mean, we still had some enjoyable moments like, post Malice, but I felt like there were some things that we kind of missed out. And Malice in the Palace changed a lot of things. It really changed a lot.
It sure did.
Especially with the even with rule changes that came into effect. Ryan says, Lewis and Jay, did you see the Reggie Miller interview when he told a different view of the scene where he and a guy had robbed but saw police was going to mace him? Reggie said, no, we got to go get him. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about Artest? Okay.
Yep.
What was really sad was that even guys who weren't even a part of the play and were just trying to separate, they were getting doused with beer and beverages too, like when they were trying to leave. And like somebody could have seriously gotten hurt, like somebody could have slipped on a wet spot, like even when you're trying to get through all that chaos. And people have to remember there were bodies everywhere. So people fighting, throwing fists. I mean, it was like Ron went from fighting. Look, this is Ron's night. He went from fighting. He went from fouling Ben Wallace to get here, fighting a dude in the stands, then coming down, and then you got fans getting fights on him when he. So it was like one after another for Ron. So Ron couldn't even.
And then the dude that he hit was the wrong guy. It wasn't even the guy that threw the beer at him. Oh man,
crazy. Freddie Gee says Kobe couldn't guard Bonzi in the post like Smitty. Kobe got good contests on Smitty, but he kept fouling Bonzi. No, Bonzi was a matchup problem. I'm not gonna sit here and act and deny. I saw that game 7. Bonzi was giving Kobe fits.
He was giving Kobe the business, man.
Reason being is because Bonzi got size. So the thing is, Kobe's got to go up against bulk. You're gonna be prone to foul, especially if Kobe can't stop him. So he's gonna foul.
Yeah.
It's true, and you're right, Jay. Many people couldn't guard Bonzi. It's a shame that I think if he would have gotten more. I think if he would have had a bigger role, I'm telling you, Bonzi would have been something in this league. He probably would have been.
Bonzi had one of those what if stories, man. Bonzi Wells, he's one of those guys, man.
He slept on, man.
Yeah.
He is slept on. I felt like he could have made a couple of All-Star teams. That's how good Bonzi Wells was. Again, shout out to Ron in the comment section too. I know I see you in there. I think Wells had a problem with stamina and conditioning.
Yeah,
that was probably true.
he had a Paul Pierce type of body frame.
That's true. And we already know about Paul Pierce, man.
Yeah.
This is fine. J.O. slept somebody who walked on him. Oh, okay. I think he was talking about the Mouse. All right. Jermaine did the electric slot. Oh, yeah. When he came and slotted him with that punch, I remember that.
Yes.
And he slept on alcohol. He came in and said, shh, doing that electric slot. Yeah, that was funny. When
that was funny.
I remember that, man. Bonzi wanted the ball. Sheed wanted the ball. J.O. wanted the ball. Dunleavy wasn't that coach to corral the talent and players run. The right head coach and that Blazers team would have been real nice. It's true. It's true.
Facts. I think can't argue with that.
It's true, man, because I think that Blazer team, they could have been. I honestly think that they would have possibly been champions in 2000 over Reggie Miller's Pacers, because overall they had a better team. If you look top to bottom with the veterans they had, like if they find a way to share that ball with the post-up game that they have, they could slow the game down anytime they want. And some of their bigs could go out and shoot. Sabonis himself was a pretty good three-point shooter himself. And he could pass. Right. So, this credit that Scottie Pippen is getting, like if this was 94 all over again, like when he was with the Bulls, that to me is just ridiculous. I'm not saying Scottie didn't play his part. Because remember when he decided to go to Houston, tell him what happened, Jay. Remember he was in the comfortable triangle offense with Phil and them, and then he goes to Houston, where he's with a new coach, and then the offense is geared more toward Charles and Hakeem because it's more of a post offense.
Yeah, he laid an egg with the Houston in that system, man. He did not do well at all. He was horrible, man. That dude shot like 20% from three. Like he was trash, bro. And then try to blame it on Charles, like he was the reason why they were struggling and stuff like that. You was part of it too, man.
Yeah, man. And here's the thing that people also need to remember about Scottie Pippen. Pippen performed better in the first three-peat in terms of the games he played compared to the second three-peat. If you watch all those games in the second three-peat from 96 to 98, Pippen was shooting a lot of 5 for 19s. See what the difference between Pippen and a guy like Paul George is that Pippen is a little more mentally tougher than Paul George is, and also Pippen had intangibles that Paul George tends to not do when he's not scoring the basketball. And Paul George has those capabilities, but when he doesn't score, he lets that affect him on the defensive end. With Scottie Pippen, he doesn't let his offense waver his defense. But when it comes to big moments, it's crazy how Scottie Pippen was telling Karl Malone, man, the mailman don't deliver on Sunday. But I could recall an Eastern Conference Finals against them Pacers the next year where you was missing free throws left and right. Scottie Pippen
sure was, man.
and I get it, man. Like I said, Pippen, unbelievable, but it's true. He had a lot of, and that's why, like, when you look at Pippen's, and that's why I was always mentioning, like, in the finals, obviously Jordan needed Pippen, but if you look at his points per game, like, I honestly thought when you call him a greatest number two, I would think Scottie would be, like, at least in the early to mid-20s when it came to scoring. But Scottie's NBA Finals career, we just talking about the finals, not the playoffs. If we talking about the finals, I think in only one Scottie averaged at least 20 points, and I think that was the first championship that they
91,
won. The first
one. 91, yeah,
the first one. And what people forget about that, that 91 team was Scottie Pippen did not make the All-Star team that year.
Nope.
He was an All-Star the year that they
did before. Yeah, that was 90. Yeah, 90. He made it in 90, right?
Yeah. But he didn't make it in 91. And Jordan was the only All-Star on that team. And I'm gonna give a little bit of respect to LeBron here. But then this has got to come with context. In 2016, when the Cavs won the championship coming back 3-1 from Golden State, check this out. LeBron James was the only All-Star on that team. Here's the caveat and the difference. Kyrie Kyrie as the number 2 was putting in major work in that series, and
He sure was.
He had a 40-point game in those NBA finals. Kyrie is not obviously Kyrie's not a he's not a great defender. We all know that. But what I'm saying is Kyrie was such a hell of a compliment number 2 to LeBron's 1 at that time when he was with Cleveland. And Kyrie was putting up big numbers. He put up some historic numbers in those finals. The very next year, when Kevin Durant went to go join Golden State, Kyrie actually upped his game a little bit even more, and he averaged damn near 30 in that series.
He sure
so what
did.
What I'm telling you is, even though Pippen gives you the intangibles, and the game isn't always predicated on scoring, you know what they say about your number 2s, man. Your number 2s have got to be there when your number 1 struggles. Right. And you couldn't always say that about Pippen. People forget that even at one point, Jordan was out rebounding the great Dennis Rodman. You know your guy Dennis Rodman, man, who played for your Pistons when he was with the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
There were even games where Jordan was out rebounding Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Like, you understand, like, when that's not happening, like, you got to do your thing and you got to be able to help out, though. So it's crazy. Let me see. Oh, Kenneth said maybe okay. I gotta totally disagree. Maybe because I'm a big Pippen homer. All good, man. Like
it's
I said,
all good.
Like I said,
there's people that love Pippen, man, but I didn't care for Pippen. I'm telling you, he's a complimentary player. He was never a franchise player. He never carried any team, any franchise to a championship. He never did that. Never.
I see y'all talking about the NFC East game. I mean, I hope my Giants win just because the Eagles got a lot of injuries, but I'm not happy with where my Giants are right now, to be honest, man.
What's the score of that game?
Let me find out right now. I can check real quick. Let me see. Score. Let me see. Oh, the Giants are 14-10. Okay, so
okay. They got a chance, man. The Giants.
I give my hopes up, yeah. Man, I can't, man. Okay, so Ryan says, I can't remember that Knicks player that was getting held back trying to get Melo after Melo popped that Knicks player. What's his name? I think you're talking about that brawl that happened between Smith and Nate.
Nate Roberts?
Okay, I remember that brawl. I remember that. Yeah. Both them dudes swear they hard, but they ain't. Both them dudes ain't shit. And don't get me wrong, I like Nate, man. Nate, a lot of heart and all that, but Nate be acting like he hard body like all the time, especially when they try to get in dudes' faces. J.R. Smith, JR's JR, man. Hennessy does the body good, man. That's JR, bro. I remember Scotty choked in 2000, and he was their main. Well, he wasn't their main guy. Supposedly he was, but he really wasn't. Rasheed was the main guy on that team. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was Rasheed Wallace. Yeah.
Scotty's role was really kind of like he was supposed to lead, though. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem with the Blazers team was that they had all those great veteran players, but I don't know if they had a definitive leader. Bingo. They really didn't.
Facts. They didn't have one. Yep.
Oh.
Pippen is not a leader. That's what y'all need to understand too about Scottie Pippen. He was never a great leader, man. You can't depend on him to lead your teams. He was never that guy to lead your team. Never. That's why Michael Jordan was so important, man. And people need to realize that.
Pippen was great. Pippen was great defensively. And it's not that Pippen didn't have an impact, because Pippen did have an impact. The only thing is though, again, I think this is why Scottie Pippen sometimes is he shows a lot of bitterness, and sometimes he kind of flip-flops in some of his statements sometimes, and I shouldn't even say at times. It's kind of been just kind of reoccurring thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right now for those who keep saying that if I'm, trying to hate on Pippen and all that. Michael Jordan is not winning an NBA championship without Scottie Pippen. It's a fact. He's not winning a chip without Pippen. Pippen's development was the key for not just him, but him and Michael winning together. Pippen doesn't develop. That's why Kobe was actually going through that Pippen phase himself with Shaq. When Shaq was losing and Kobe had to develop. it was like it was Kobe was saying when they were sitting in that sit down that we don't really have time for him to develop. It's a crucial time to win, and they got to win. So Kenneth Wright says I got to debate you guys on Scottie Pippen. That's
we can debate all day. I don't care. I'm down for that.
No,
I'm gonna come with my facts. I'm gonna come with all facts.
All right, man. Freddie says Pip was a borderline superstar. He could do everything but score at a high level. By default, you got to put more offensive role players around him. Okay, and he says, man, I'm watching the young Dirk with the hair versus the King. Dude was a unicorn, 7-1 with the handles and could shoot that thing. Yeah, man. Kevin Durant is on record as saying that he was on record as basically saying that he appreciates guys like Dirk because he said that he appreciated that a guy could be a perimeter player at his height because usually big men are supposed to be known to be in the post and they can't go beyond that. They're not supposed to be known guys who can stretch the floor. And that's why Kevin Durant appreciates Dirk Nowitzki so much. And, Dirk definitely underrated for sure.
He is. Truly.
In terms of, I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. You know what? I'm gonna get my man Kenneth Wright on here. I know he probably we talking blasphemy on Scottie Pippen, but I'm gonna put my man Kenneth in here, man. So he can talk. He can defend Pippen, no doubt. So I'm gonna do that for you right now.
Yep.
Put the link in the chat. Come on in.
Defend this boy. Go ahead, defend him. I love this. Defend him because I'm gonna come with facts.
This is great, man. This is great.
Yep.
This is awesome.
Man. I like it.
So yeah, man. Toronto. Yeah. So this is what I say about Toronto and Chicago is very familiar because both teams were trying to prove that they would not quote unquote carry. Shout out to Godzilla Suplex in the building. They were trying to both prove that they weren't carried. Like they were trying to be more than they're more than a Jordan team and more than a Kawhi team. And I think the thing is with Kawhi, he gets a lot of credit because it was the minute he got traded, they won a championship. And it's like I said, y'all gotta hold your horses, though. They have a pretty good structure. All right, man. So let me get my man Kenneth Wright in here. Welcome to the stream, my brother. What's going on with you, man? And I know you're here to defend Pip, so get the salutations out the way, and then after that, man, you could go in on Pip and go ahead and cook, bro.
Hey, what's up, you guys? How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Everything with you, bro.
Great.
Look, yeah, I know Pip is my boy. He's probably my favorite player, so I am coming from a little bit of a bias. But when I hear people say the stuff that you guys are saying, it just aggravates me to no end. It's like, oh my God, what did this dude have to do? Right? All right. So you guys, I'm sorry. I know you get Lewis. I'm sorry, brother. You're the Piston fan, right?
Yeah, Jay.
What's your name?
That's Jay.
Jay. All right, Jay.
Yeah.
So Jay called Pippen trash, right? Scottie Pippen finished third in MVP voting in '94. He finished second in I think it was second in Defensive Player of the Year award in '95. Along with that, he also led the league. He also led his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. He was the best defender, best scorer. Ran a team. He was their defensive anchor. Everything, right?
Yep.
Okay, this is actually appropriate to the title of the show because comparing the '94 Bulls to the Raptors. Now I do think there was a big difference between the '94 Bulls and the Raptors. Jordan retired abruptly. They didn't get a fair chance to replace Michael Jordan when he retired. He retired a month before this season started. Month.
That's right.
Okay, so they had to go with, that's how they ended up getting Pete Myers, right? So I think it is very similar what the Raptors did this year and what the Bulls did, but it's still to me it's still a very big difference because the Raptors had an actual chance to say, okay, what are we going to do to replace Kawhi now that he's gone? The Bulls didn't have that chance. Going back to Pippen. Okay, let's talk about Let's talk about Pippen in Portland first. We'll start there and then we'll work our way back.
All right, cool.
All right. So Pippen was an old man in Portland. Let's understand that. Okay, I think he was like, what, 34 years old?
33.
Yeah, but 33. Okay, I think he was 34. But let's say he was 33. Let's say he was
33.
Yeah, he was 34. Yeah, he was.
Okay. So you got to also understand something. Pip wasn't a scorer. Okay, he was defender. He's going to get everybody involved, this, that, and the third, yada, yada, yada. He had the scorers on the team. It's not his fault that these guys didn't do what Rasheed Wallace and Steve Smith and Bonzi Wells didn't do what they were supposed to do. He led them in a position where they're up 15 points in the fourth quarter. All your scorers got to do is finish the game. All right, he hit big shots. I think was it in the previous series against Utah. He actually hit I know he hit one game winner for sure. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. How many do you got to hit? I mean, see, this is where. How many does he have to hit, brother? How many every night? What?
No, it's not. No. Didn't mean to cut you off, but the way that I'm describing Scottie Pippen is that going back to '94 real quick. Scottie had an unbelievable season, like we mentioned at the top of the show.
Yeah, I said it.
He won. He should have been. First of all, it's amazing. I'm gonna say this right now. It's a crime that he did not win a single Defensive Player of the Year award. I don't understand the impact that he had defensively and never won that award. I think to me is mind-boggling for me. He should have been one because Scottie is one of the most versatile defenders to ever play this game. This guy could defend. You could arguably say even 4 positions. For sure, you could clearly say 3, but you could argue the point where you could say 4.
If he played in today's NBA, he could guard 4 positions. He would guard 4 in today's NBA if he played.
No, for sure. And then and so what happened was that with Pip, and then also he finished top 3 in MVP voting. I know Hakeem had a historic season in his own right, so okay, I probably would even go as far as Pip should have been at least second in MVP. I would even go that far. But the thing is with 94, the issue was kind of more so with the leadership. And the thing is that again, he struggled against the Knicks. And this is the team that already struggled when Jordan was on the floor. So, and it's like Jordan's not there anymore. So you would think it'd be easy for the Knicks, but they still struggle with that Bulls team. So it just tells you Pip plays a little bit better. And again, everybody's gonna have bad series. But I think that that was that one time that Pip really could show that he could lead that team. Yes, he did lead that team in the regular season. But again, that's also got to translate into the postseason. And he struggled against the Knicks, which I thought that he would actually be. And the funny thing is, last year, the year when Jordan was still on that team, Pippen actually was having a transcendent playoff series against the Knicks. Pippen, when Jordan struggled, Pippen.
I actually think he played better than Jordan.
In my opinion, Pippen outplayed Jordan in that 93 Eastern Conference.
He did. He outplayed Jordan. He did that. Yeah.
Pippen outplayed Jordan. If you look at Pippen's numbers, Pippen I think was over 50% in that series. I think he shot somewhere. I think it was 54-55%, and he was averaging close to 26 a game.
Yeah.
He was But can I? I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good. Well, I just want to say, okay, so let's understand something about the Knicks in '94. I want to say, statistically speaking, they're one of the best defensive teams ever. Statistically speaking, okay, one of the best defensive teams ever. Okay, but the key is that still Pippen, I think, averaged for the playoffs, I think he averaged 24 points a game. I know a lot of that was versus Cleveland, but the key is that you don't really have anybody to take pressure off of him like he had Jordan. So remember what I said. When you got a guy that got to be your best defender, your best rebounder, you got to run the team, you got to be the anchor, you got to be the scorer. It's same like I say with Bonzi Wells. I know we all play basketball. It's one thing is you start, but then it's also how you finish. And if you run out of gas because you are asked to do so many things, then it's to me what Pippen did is no different than when you got a guy scoring, busting his butt to get 35, 40 points a game, then he comes up short. And a lot of times he comes up short, he keeps them in the game, but he comes up short because he just ran out of gas. He just don't have it anymore, And I think that's what you saw out of Pippen, especially against the Knicks. You got this defense. Who else they got to focus on? I mean, statistically, all those other guys had good series, but those guys, you couldn't get those guys the ball and take some kind of pressure off of Pippen. You couldn't do it. Grant wasn't going to score on his own. Armstrong wasn't. Kukoc was a rookie. Even though he hit some really, really big shots. But you're asking a lot of a dude. And I tell you this: if you say Pippen scored 27, okay, he scores 27. Now his defense, his rebounding, everything else is affected. His numbers might be a little bit better, but I don't think that the end result would have been any different. It just his numbers would have looked better. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So and again, I think it's when I was talking about with Pippen in Portland, again, you got to understand. Going back to let's say 1990. Okay, Pippen played more games than any NBA player has ever played ever, because you also got to include the fact that he played obviously 6 championships, right? Then he had the 2 Eastern Conference semifinals that went to 7 games, and he played in 2 Olympics. Mm-hmm. 2 Olympics. Okay. So I think his body, when people call him trash for what he did even though he had a good season in 2004, you're talking about a 34-year-old man that, has a bunch of miles on his body, and it's not like miles you see today. I mean, this dude, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, with this LeBron James and Jordan thing, and I was telling him, I don't know if you guys remember that time when Bill Laimbeer hit Pippen on the head, knocked him out cold, and the referee just drug his limp body off the court and said, "Play on." That was what. I'm almost finished, brother. That was what he had to go through after the Pistons. It was the Knicks. After the Knicks, it was the Pacers. It was always going to be, them guys that was going to try to. Oh, and I'm sorry, the Heat. So. I just think his body broke down. It wasn't that he was trash or that he sucked. I think that his age, the miles he had on his body, and the team, the physical East and the teams he was playing, I think eventually caught up to him. I don't think he was really. He wasn't the type of player that was going to take over a game offensively. But I think a younger Pippen, they beat the Lakers in 2000.
All right, man. Before I let Jay rebuttal, I want to welcome G Money to the stream. G Money, welcome. Salute to you, man. How's everything good with you? And what you got on this? When we compare the 93-94 team to the 2020 Toronto Raptors, do you see a lot of similarities between these two teams? What do you think, man?
Salute everybody on the panel. How's everybody doing?
What's up, bro?
Good. What's up, G Money?
What's going on? And the 94 Bulls and the 2020 Raptors, here's what they told me. Toughness. They showed heart. Had multiple guys who were champs. They were clogging the paint. Nice ball movement. And here's the thing. Neither team had a superstar. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, right? The 2020 Raptors, they overachieved in the regular season, losing Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard, being the number 2 seed, right? They almost beat the Celtics in the second round, but because of Marcus Smart's block and the Jason Tatum offensive rebound, they didn't get to the conference final. The 94 Bulls, they showed a lot of guts without Michael Jordan. They were within. You can argue if Hubert Davis didn't get that, if Pippen didn't foul Hubert Davis, the Bulls might have won that series though, and maybe would have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers. Would they have won that series? We will never know. Scottie Pippen.
Hold Hold on, G Money, real
Yep.
quick. I'm gonna say that right now. That call was bogus on the Hubert Davis call, and I'm on record as saying that call was bogus.
Yeah.
That was no
I agree.
foul on that play.
I agree. That was bogus.
That's true. That was no foul. If they don't call a foul, the Bulls more than likely win in 6 games. You know what I mean? And you never know. They would have played the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Would they have beaten them? We don't know. But what I'm saying is that Chicago, even without Michael Jordan, they still had structure. They still had nice ball movement. Phil Jackson, you can argue could have won Coach of the Year. That you really could argue that. Scottie Pippen showed his stardom. You know, Horace Grant made big plays. B.J. Armstrong hit big shots. Tony Kukoc,
Yep.
Steve Kerr. These guys showed a lot of guts. And for the 2020 Raps, like I said, losing Danny Green to the Lakers, losing Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers, they didn't miss a beat in the regular season. They did struggle in the playoffs against the Celtics due to the lack of a go-to guy and a lack of another shooter that can help out Kyle Lowry. What I'm saying is that the Raptors and the Bulls are similar because they're hard-nosed, gritty guys, good coaches, and we're not scared to fail. But the reasons why the Bulls and the Raptors did not go farther like they could have been is because they didn't have that superstar. You know, they didn't have another guy who they can throw in the ball and say, "Give me a basket." You know what I mean? So that's my take.
Yeah. I agree, G Money. Of course. That's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Jay,
Yeah.
man. What's your rebuttal to what Ken had to say about Scottie Pippen, man? So you said you got facts all day, so you got them facts, man. Lay them facts on it, man.
Like I said earlier, I don't know if he was listening to what I was saying earlier about Pippen that 94 season. It was very underrated. He had a great season, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. What was it? Over 2 steals and over a block for that season, man. He had a great year, man. He did. But when it came down to the playoffs against those New York Knicks, when you needed a bucket, when you needed somebody to take over, he didn't come through, man. And he shot poorly in that series. He only shot 35% from the field. And you want to be the superstar, you want to be that guy that your team can depend on, and he failed, man. And then he quit in one of those games. He quit on his team, man. Like, come on, man.
Game 3.
Well,
I remember that was the Tony Kukoc game winner. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kukoc game winner. Exactly. Facts. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but if you remember, even that Tony Kukoc game winner, I mean, I think they were down by like 15-something points. No, earlier in the game, and Pippen brought them back. He got hot and he brought them back. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
I think like 20 in that game. I think Chicago was blowing out New York in game 3. New York came back, and I remember Patrick Ewing had a hook shot in the top of the circle to give us the lead, remember? And then, Tony Kukoc hit the fadeaway game winner to, I think, help the Bulls get back in the series.
Okay,
that might be it. I mean, I don't remember. I remember there was one game in that series.
G-Money, you absolutely right. You was right.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Yeah, G-Money's right on that. He got it on the nose on that.
But still, this is the same team that basically did the same thing to prime Michael Jordan the year before, and he had Scottie Pippen playing next to him. And this is the point. You don't have nobody. They can focus in on Scottie Pippen because they know nobody else in that team can score the ball in ISO. They don't have to worry about nobody else. But here's the thing I gotta say. But if you Scottie Pippen, you gotta be dubbed as a player. You have to develop your offensive game. If you know you offensive limited, go to the gym and work on some things. You know what I'm saying, to make yourself better for your team offensively. But again. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it that he couldn't score, or is it that he was asked to do so many other things that we're still humans, right? See, the thing is, you exert energy. We all got a certain amount of energy that we have. Okay, and so as a player, he said, okay, what is my best chance of my team winning? Is it me going out and trying to score 30 points? Or is it me doing all the stuff to try to, doing this little bit of scoring, rebound, and defense, yada, yada, da, 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 da. This is why you see a lot of great scorers like a James Harden that just can't ever get it done. Because now see, we'll look at or Carmelo. Oh, well, he scored 30 points. Well, he didn't get it done. He didn't get it done. So why are we holding? So why are we holding? It wasn't like the Knicks was like just blowing them out or anything like that. And even still, I think if you had any shooting guard worth his salt, I'm not even saying another Michael Jordan. If they would have had, like I always said, like a Mitch Richmond or a Latrell Sprewell,
or even a Reggie Miller,
any of them guys, Pippen. But I'm still saying, because the argument is, Pippen can't lead. Mm-hmm. Anybody that probably is on Pippen's level, or maybe a tier, or maybe slightly under him, they beat the Knicks in 6 games, maybe even 5. Probably. But again, when you I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
And here's the thing, right? I always tell people that numbers do not tell the whole story. You know what I mean? If the numbers, people call me a stat man, which I find that ridiculous. I always say the numbers do not tell you the whole story, because you have to watch the full game about, did they impact the team? You know what I mean? Did they really have any impact the game? James Harden and Damian Lillard, they can do great things in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they don't adjust. You know what I mean? Scottie Pippen, he's a great player, all right? All-time great. I always have said, without Scottie, Jordan has no ring. I always said that. But the thing that kills me with Scottie is Scottie was inconsistent at times. You know what I mean? He didn't have the toughness, you know what I mean, to get it done sometimes. I'm not trying to downgrade him. What I'm saying is that you saw 94 against the Knicks, in Game 7, they're up by 10. People forget, the Bulls were up by 10 in that game, right? They had a golden opportunity to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but Pippen did not put his team on his back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Pippen was never that guy to do that. He was never that guy.
Hold on, real quick.
Again, if you pick a player, pick any player you want that don't got no ring, okay, or whatever. Even if they have a ring, they have somebody that can take some kind of pressure off of them, either on defense or on offense. Who was Pippen's? Why are we holding Pippen to a standard that no other NBA player has ever had to meet? Why are we holding him to that standard?
That's true, man.
Because Pippen himself put himself in that. That's why.
Michael Jordan abruptly retired. How did he put himself in that position? Pippen was grossly underpaid. What did he do to put himself in that position?
Hold on a second.
Listen.
He stayed. Maybe he should have left the Bulls. Well, he did try to get traded. So
that's his fault.
Hold on. This is what I'm gonna say about Scottie Pippen again. Scottie, unbelievable talent. This was my issue with Scottie Pippen in the 94 playoffs. Not the season. Because as I said before, what people forget about that season was he missed the first 10 games of that season due to injury. So they probably would have won more games had Scottie Pippen had been there, because they lost 6 out of 10 when Scottie was not on the floor. And they looked like they was going to be on pace to win 60 games that season, even without Michael Jordan. My issue is not what Pippen was doing in terms of his all-around game. I'm talking about and I get what you're saying, Kenneth, in terms of like why are we holding Pippen to that standard, but this is why also we got to kind of look back to that Last Dance, because if you look at what Scottie Pippen was doing, he wanted to be in that moment. Because what I talked about the thing is, in that Game 3, the possession before that, Patrick Ewing scored the layup, that hook shot to give him the lead, as G Money mentioned. I don't know if you remember that play, but Tony Kukoc was supposed to pass Scottie Pippen the ball when Scottie was calling for that ball. Tony did not pass him the ball. Scottie was pissed off at him. When they go into the timeout, Phil Jackson draws the play up for Tony Kukoc, and his excuse was that since that play has worked before in the regular season, and we all mentioned about the game winners that Tony Kukoc hit in that regular season of 94, he hit about 3 or 4 of them. I get mad at Phil in a sense because Phil did not involve his best player, which was Scottie Pippen. But the thing is, Scottie Pippen, and listen, I understand it. I get it. That's frustrating as your opportunity to prove to people that you can lead a team in big moments. The issue that I have is Scottie Pippen decided to cancel himself out of that play. And the thing is, all of his teammates were upset because they looked at Scottie as the leader of the team. They looked at him, and the thing is, all of them talked how great Scottie was in terms of how he was a leader for them, how he would cater to them, how he was easy to talk to. Remember, Scottie was more approachable than Michael Jordan was. And you know, Mike, and everybody knows about Michael. He's super crazy competitive to the point that he can rub you the wrong way. But the thing is that Scottie had his moment right there against the Knicks. Usually, everybody's always talking Michael Jordan kills the Knicks and all this kind of stuff. Kenneth, Scottie is such a versatile defender, as Jay mentioned in the chat, that he allowed Michael to be Michael, where Michael didn't have to do that much because Scottie took on some of that responsibility. So I agree with you there. What I'm basically saying is that as a great season that Scottie had when he stepped up in Jordan's absence, and Michael was on record as saying this in their '96 championship video, where he was basically saying how Scottie Pippen had to deal with some of the things that he had to deal with as being the number one guy. I partly blame Phil Jackson using Tony Kukoc as a scapegoat for why Pippen didn't get the basketball. So I partly blame him for that. But I also said that Scottie Pippen has got to be a professional in that situation, as hard as it is. And I get it. It's not easy because you're the best player on the team. But the fact that he turned – because y'all saw The Last Dance. Like, a lot of dudes were surprised that Scottie didn't even want to be a part of that last play, and it's frustrating. But you got to be professional in that situation, and you got to show your leadership. I can understand.
I agree with you on that. Pippen, I understand why he did it, but he definitely could have handled it in a different way. I'll say this for Phil Jackson though. Phil Jackson has a history, and it is funny because a buddy of mine actually showed me his video of and I think it was Kukoc too, right? Where end of the game, it's blatantly obvious that Jackson draws up the play for Kukoc with Jordan on the floor, and Jordan ran over, knocked Kukoc out of play, and caught the ball and shot it. Jordan wouldn't let nobody. He missed it, but he wouldn't let nobody take that shot. But the reason why I'm saying that, there's a few times, even in '93, when they drew up that play, Jordan was a decoy in that Paxson shot. Jordan was a decoy, right. And I think really I was disappointed in Phil Jackson for putting Pippen in that position because, all throughout Pippen's career, all the stuff that he had to hear, he was soft, he was a part of the Jordanaires, yada, yada, this, he couldn't win. Well, now here was this opportunity, and Jackson took the ball out of his hand. I'm saying this, because I know it seemed like Jackson just had a penchant for doing that, but still, you got to know the moment. This is Pippen's. He got you there. Nobody expected the Bulls to do what they did in '94. He got you there. This is his opportunity, and you took it from him.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. Real quick, before I let G Money speak and Kenneth finish, and before I let Kenneth finish what he's saying, again, salute to Corey in the chat. Just wanted to shout you out. Appreciate you for being here, and also shout out to my main man Gazella Suplex, who decided to join the chat, and I know he wants to get some pieces in. So salute to you, Gazella, for being here. Gazella Suplex. Make sure y'all go check out his channel as well. So Kenneth, finish what you're saying, and then we'll let G Money go, and then we'll let Gazella go on the back end, man. Go ahead, finish what you're saying, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, but there was games that Pippen took over, even offensively, like we're talking about '93, to show that he could do it. But see, he's never going to get credit for it because Jordan's there, and it still comes back to, personally, I could make a strong argument, and there's clippings to show that most people felt Pippen was the Finals MVP in '98. He's probably average. I know he got hurt the last game, but his defense was outstanding. The stuff he was doing. So, he could have did it. Obviously, he didn't. I would never say Pippen was one of them type of scorers, but I would. And I know this is going to be sacrilege for me saying this. But, I put, Pippen's impact, right, on the level like a Dwayne Wade or a Dirk Nowitzki or not like a Jordan or or a Magic or a Kareem, but I put his impact, on that level of those type of guys. The only difference is those guys had 10 years to prove what they could do, and they had their own little farts as well. But all they needed was one great season. All the other weirdo stuff that they did, like Dwayne Wade against the Bulls and what was it, 07 or whatever, when Kirk Cousins was being called a Dwayne stopper, everybody else, their little snafus or whatever throughout their careers forgiven because of that one time. Pippen had 1 year, one legitimate year, and one playoff series to do what other guys that I'm sure you guys probably say is greater had 10 to 15 years to do. So that's all I got to say.
Interesting.
All right, man. G-Money, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like, he has good points. Like, Scotty, like I said, he was a great all-time player. But like I said, sometimes he was kind of mentally weak a little bit, like that last play with the Tony Kukoc shot. I made a mistake. I meant to say the hook shot tied the game. I think the hook shot might have tied the game or something. But either way, Pippen was furious at, I think at Phil because he wanted to be the hero that would get the Bulls back in the series. But Scotty was trying to show people that he could win without MJ. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not trying to downgrade Scotty. I'm not trying to uplift MJ, but what I'm saying is that this is the reason why people need to be open-minded. This is the reason why I say the 1-9 thing without, Jordan 1-9 thing without Pippen is ridiculous. Because yes, Scottie Pippen did help Michael Jordan win the championship, but be honest, even Scottie Pippen, right, was drafted by the Bulls. By the Bulls earlier against the Boston Celtics. They were not going to beat the Celtics, you know what I mean? So people need to be open-minded to that, you know what I mean? And you have to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just say this real quick. Like I said before, when Jordan went up against those 86 Boston Celtics in 86, and shout out to Kenneth Wright, man, for the $15 donation, man. Appreciate you getting your points across on Scottie Pippen, man. Salute to you, man. Appreciate you. And I thought you made some great points on Scottie Pippen. Like there was ones that I really couldn't argue. And I thought you made a good case in defending Pip. So I definitely appreciate you being on here. Like I said, Pippen, all-time great. But what I was saying is that when we talk about the 86 Celtics, you're talking about a team that had Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and freaking Dennis Johnson. And Bill Walton came off the bench.
Yes,
that 86 Celtics team is regarded as one of the top 5 greatest teams of all time. That's an all-time great team. All-time great team. Yeah. So you're talking about top 5, and the thing is that not only did they have a dominant regular season, not only did they go 40-1, but in the playoffs they went 15-3. So when you add all that up together, there's a reason why they wanted and Larry Bird was their MVP, and that was his 3rd straight MVP award. Yep. So that's what I keep talking. I think Larry also made. I think he made 2nd team all NBA defense that year. So Larry was not athletic. He couldn't move laterally, but he had good instincts, and he had good instincts and he had a high basketball IQ. So that's why I keep saying that. Yo, when you judge that Boston Celtics team, like, y'all gotta understand that's one of the greatest all-time teams. Everybody talks about the 86 Celtics. They talk about them. They won the championship that year. And that was against
4 great Hall of Famers. Just
right. And here's right.
With the great supporting cast.
I'm sorry, Lewis. I gotta make this quick point. Here's what's crazy. If the Bulls were losing to the Pistons 3 years in a row with Pippen, how would it be in the Celtics and the Bucks? You know what I mean? People who like bringing the 1-9 thing without Pippen, they don't use context. You know what I mean? Those are people. Here's the bias, right? Again, I'm not trying to make this a LeBron video. I'm sorry. These people give LeBron excuse for losing to the Spurs and Warriors. despite he had nice teams around him, while Michael Jordan, even though he made some mistakes here and there, Jordan's playing with who? Cokeheads. You know what I mean? Against one of the dominant teams in the NBA history. How's that work? You know what I mean?
And can I
Brad
ask
Sellers is his teammate and shit.
Can I add something onto that? Because a lot of people don't know this. And I was looking up the stats like 2 days ago on that series, which a lot of people don't know, is that when Jordan lost to the Bucks, 3 Hall of Famers, Terry Cummings was in the MVP discussion. Ricky Pierce, Sidney Moncrief, all defensive first team. Sidney Moncrief, all second team. Against Jordan in the series, Orlando Wall, which was the third best player, that was supposed to be his hell. Quinn Daly off the bench outscored him.
Really?
People don't want to bring that up. Quinn Daly literally had, I think, a 25-point and a 17-point game in that series, whereas Wall was struggled and had 12 points in the closeout game.
And to add on real quick, people forget how cold Ricky Pierce was. In this time period, Ricky Pierce was cold. Like, dude was nice. Same thing. And look how long it took Sidney Moncrief to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Sidney Moncrief was a problem, man. He was nice. Yeah.
Like, he was one of the players that defended Jordan pretty well. Now, obviously, look, there's a reason they call Jordan the Black Cat. Like, the dude, obviously, they cat quick. But I'm telling you right now, man, I'm telling you that Bucks team, for a team that played the Don Nelson system, that was a very good defensive team. That people don't want to understand that. So, like, the thing is, and here's the thing, real quick, before I let you speak. What people got to understand is, even when Scottie Pippen was drafted to the Bulls, and he was drafted by Seattle and traded for Olden Polynice, what people got to understand is it still took them 4 years to finally get over that hump. And they were improving under Doug Collins and Phil Jackson and Tex winning that coaching staff. They had to make moves. So they were still losing because they were, and it was for several reasons. Number one, Jordan did not trust his teammates. Jordan loved the ball in his hands a lot. That's the truth. He said in The Last Dance, Doug Collins, he loved the fact that Doug let him kind of, do his thing with the basketball. And where Jordan learned team ball in North Carolina, he kind of lost his way in the NBA. But also it was because it was bad structure. There was bad structure all around. Look how long it took them to structure that basketball team until Jordan was finally able to win. It took them, even when Jordan was getting better, even when the Bulls were getting better, it still took them time. Even when Pippen got drafted, Pippen was not the reason that the Bulls got to the second round. That's what people fail to understand about that too. Pippen really didn't play as big of a factor as people claim to be. And Pippen, it still took him about 3 to 4 years until we got him to know as a Scottie Pippen. And you kind of even say that he kind of took an all-star superstar, went to that level like about in 92. I think in 91, 91, he was showing that he could be an all-star player. But he was starting to show you kind of superstarish a little bit in that 92 season after they won the title. And Scottie Pippen was like, when you become a champion, you got to conduct yourself like a champion. So Scottie was stepping up his game. So it still took them time. And, I know my man Jay was loving it every time the Pistons were knocking Jordan and them dudes out of the playoffs every single year. You got to be strong.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, I was loving that shit.
So, and that's what I'm saying. People forget. I believe Terry Cummings, finishing the top, I want to say it was in the top 5 in MVP voting that year.
He got 2% along with Jordan.
Terry Cummings, great player, man.
There you go. Terry Cummings, I'm telling you, dude was a problem.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about, when I think about Jordan's era, and Jordan came out, like a week ago on the interview, said, I didn't get to play some of the best players from different eras, and I was just looking up a stat, like in his final season, Pistol Pete had 66% from the 3-point line. You don't know what these players are going to do under the conventional rules that we play under now. Jordan being such a great mid-range, in today's game, we see Kawhi. I don't think Kawhi is nearly the mid-range shooter Jordan was, but we see how effective that range is in the playoffs. And just for the credit of those players back then, even though they didn't shoot threes, could you imagine some of them had this game now? A lot of that had to do with the rules and how players had hand checking, and that stopped perimeter players from being on equal footing. So you had to have some of that size. Where now you have small guys like Isaiah Thomas, the new Isaiah Thomas, before he got injured, 28 points a game. But yet, guys say now the old Isaiah couldn't average that same amount. Yeah. They'll say, oh, he scored 19. He was as good as Pat Bev. I've heard that before. I've heard that come out somebody's mouth.
First of all, dude, listen. As much as I think Isaiah is doing some blasphemous stuff right now with the media in terms of this whole GOAT thing with LeBron and MJ, let me tell you something about Isaiah Thomas right now. Isaiah Thomas was putting up big numbers before he dialed his scoring and assist back player. And Isaiah Thomas is one of the greatest leaders in NBA history. I tell you, the most impactful little man in NBA history. Dudes under 6'3", Isaiah Thomas is the most impactful little man to ever play the game.
Still got the best stat line in the history of the sport. 21 points, 14 assists a game. No other player in the history of the league has that number, has that stat line in a season. Still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just
Isaiah Thomas was underrated.
Very underrated. And then and this is where, I think the knowledge of basketball has really been lost now. Just because we haven't seen it in this age, in this social media age, a lot of what these players did in the past don't get brought up. But if that were to happen now, like Kareem winning 6 MVPs in 10 years, could you imagine a player now with the kind of attention for a player to come into the league with the same high level as, LeBron James, and I mean Kareem, because his name never gets mentioned in the GOAT conversation. Yeah. 6 MVPs in 10 years. That is incredible. Like Jordan, I mean, how many did LeBron win? 2 in his first 10 years? Jordan, maybe 3?
Yeah, two in his first 10.
2. We're talking about 2 and 3 and 1 championship. Kareem in his second season already won a chip, won 6 MVPs in 10 years. Could you imagine how the media would react to only 4 of the players win the MVP in a 10-year period? But that gets lost to history, because back then it was
Kareem
before the NBA blew up with
underrated.
Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's rivalry, when people actually paid attention to basketball. Even the 1983 76ers get snubbed.
Oh yeah, Moses
Malone of all time. Yeah, Moses Malone,
Charles.
4.
Yeah.
Listen, man. That 83 Sixer team again. That's another team.
Great team, man.
One of the greatest basketball teams of all time. That team won 65 games. Look who they had on that team. First of all, they were coached by Billy Cunningham, who played for that 76er team. They had Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney, who before his injuries, he looked like he was one of the more underrated small forwards of those 80s, in the early 80s.
Maurice Cheeks.
Mo Cheeks, 5-time All-NBA defender. You had Dr. J, who was still playing pretty at a high level still. And then you got you got Moses, man. You got Moses.
Straight out of high school.
Man, that team was stacked and underrated, man.
In my opinion, the most underrated big man in NBA history is Moses Malone. You could make a
him
case.
And Wes also. Yep.
Rest in peace, Wes also. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, that Moses Malone, the guy was a 3-time MVP. Just let that sink in. And he won all his MVPs in the 80s, in the early 80s. In the early 80s, Moses was a 3-time MVP. I think he won 3 MVPs in 4 years.
He did.
That tells you how dominant Moses Malone was, man. That tells you how dominant. And it's a shame he don't get the recognition he deserves, man.
I mean, any player that came before
these guys, people need to watch the games more,
But this is
what'd you say?
My bad. No, I was just gonna say that this is the reason that I say that if you really want to learn the history of the game, this is why you should watch. You really should watch. You should watch a lot of these classics, because you get to learn about a lot of players, and also you get to learn about how the position was played in their era compared to what you're seeing right now, and you're realizing that it's a lot different. And like I said, one thing that I appreciate, the one thing that I always go back on in the way that the era was played back then, you have a lot of guys that played. When we look at the golden age of basketball, especially when you look at those 1980s, like there were a lot of competitive guys that played. Like they played, they played extremely hard. Like there were a lot of competitive guys. You know,
there was so many good teams back then too. It's like every team was good.
Yeah,
man.
the Celtics, the Lakers, the Sixers, the Rockets. Yeah,
because there wasn't the whole super team thing, which is what we have going on.
It was an
now.
even playing field, right?
Here's the thing: the super team era. Here's the thing. That is kind of true, but here's the thing: there was no super team that won the title this year. I don't think the Lakers were a super team. You know?
Oh no, I don't think
no, it wasn't no super team.
They're one piece away from a super team, but I just think the Lakers. I think this is the most parity we've seen in the league, probably before the Kobe and Celtics rivalry. Like,
you can make a case,
remember after the Celtics, if you want to even consider the Celtics were a super team, they didn't really become a super team until after. They were supposed to be a super team, but then the Kevin Garnett injury happened, and
in
the
2009,
really, their super team ended when they traded Kendrick Perkins. That's where it ended.
I'm not going to vote Perk. Again, I'm not trying to hate on dude, but Perk was not that good, in my opinion.
No. But the fact that he had on the team, as a chemistry-wise, he took a lot of pressure. Him and Rondo took a lot of pressure off of those other three guys. I
want to make a comment after y'all two done. I'm going to make a comment right quick, but go ahead.
Then you got to think about now. It went from there to Miami, and people, they take the argument one way, right? They're going to say, okay, Jordan did this and this and that, but Jordan had a traditional structured team, whereas with LeBron James, even though I think he should have left Cleveland because of the lack of talent, you know, he went and joined Dwayne Wade. Was that fair? And people want to say Kevin Durant, what LeBron James did to Kevin Durant, or Kevin Durant did to LeBron James, was it fair? Was it fair when Kevin Durant had a homegrown team and he has to then face three superstars in the finals? Was it fair to Derrick
Rose, who was the
MVP?
You talk about Kevin Durant. Here's what I think: Clay and Draymond are not superstars, in my opinion. Look, in my opinion, Clay to me is an all-star. Draymond is more of a good role player.
I would agree.
One superstar, you meant.
No, yeah, that's what I meant. I meant, like, for Kevin Durant, was it fair to Kevin? But you gotta also admit that they had a really good team. They had a really good record, and what Kevin Durant did,
that's true,
was kind of weary. But Kevin Durant wouldn't have did that if LeBron James hadn't did it like 7 years before.
You could make a case.
You could say what LeBron James did was worse because he went from 0 superstars to 2 superstars. Was that fair to Derrick Rose, who had played that whole season like an MVP, only to get 3-on-1 ganged up in the conference finals?
Yeah, that is true, though. That is true. And here's the thing, though, right? I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I want to make this quick point, okay? Mm-hmm. People like saying, "Oh, Durant joined a team that beat him." Okay, here's the hypocrisy, right? If Durant had joined the Cleveland Cavaliers that offseason, do you think people would be upset? Because the team, the Cavaliers won the championship. You know what the bias there? Think about that.
People have bias towards their favorite player, and I just don't get it. When you take it one way, you gotta take it the other way. If it's unfair for Kevin Durant to go to the Warriors, it also has to be unfair for LeBron James, who was the best player on planet Earth at the time. Number one, Dwayne Wade the year before was third in MVP going behind Kobe. And then I think Box was in the top 10. And they all ganged up on one team. Now, it took LeBron James a legendary performance in the finals that year for them to lose. A legendary mishap where he scored 11 points and got outscored by Jason Terry, and for them to lose. Had that not happened, had he at least contributed 23 points a game or something of the sort, they would have three-peated.
They should have four-peated, to be honest with you. No, I'm sorry. They should have four-peated because 2014, right? I understand how good the Spurs were, but people need to understand this. The Spurs went 7 games against an 8-seed Mavs team. People forget about that. And they went 6 games against a banged-up Thunder team where Serge Ibaka missing the first 2 games because of an injury. So to me, there's no real excuse for the Heat to lose that series. Because remember, Miami won Game 2 in Texas. Don't forget, though. And remember, before they played Game 3 and 4 at South Beach, Miami did not lose a game at home, so there's no real excuse for Miami to not four-peat, in my opinion.
And
All right,
people,
real quick. Hold on, real
can I
quick.
say-
Let Jay.
okay.
Let Jay get in his comment that he was gonna say, and then I'll let you get back on it, guys. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment, man. I'm gonna say this. All right, I know old boy was on here earlier talking about Scottie Pippen and how he does everything on the court, his all-around play, and just the thing. That's why I don't like all that all-around stuff, man, because it's like when you rebound, assist, you do everything like that. It's like you take away from your other players on your team, man. Like they don't have a chance to develop their skill set, and that's why I don't like LeBron like that, because it's a reason why LeBron is 4-6 in the NBA Finals because of that. It's a reason. It's a reason why Grant Hill never won playing that type of style. It's a reason that Michael Jordan never won playing that type of style until he changed his style. You know what I'm saying? When he trusted his teammates more, then, you know what I'm saying, Jordan started winning championships. You know what I'm saying? You got to have your teammates. You got to let your teammates a chance to develop their own skill set. That's why I don't like the all-around play, man, because it's like he's stat padding in a way. It's like he's stat padding, man, and I don't like that.
And here's what's crazy, right?
Hold on, G-Money. Let Godzilla go, and then you can go after him.
Oh, sorry.
Godzilla, you there? All right, G-Money, go ahead until he comes back.
Okay, and I read the comment section. They keep making excuse. Oh, Dwayne Wade was hurt. Okay. Dwayne Wade was balling in the playoffs in 2014 leading up to the finals, okay? Listen, I'm tired of hearing, oh, Dwayne Wade's knees were shot. That's what he lost. I don't want to hear that, because Michael Jordan won a championship with a banged-up Scottie Pippen with a bad back, okay? Kobe Bryant won a championship with banged-up Pau Gasol and a banged-up Shaq. Dwayne Wade himself won a championship with an injured Shaquille O'Neal in 2006. So I don't want to hear, oh, Wade's knees were shot. I don't want to hear that, because Wade was actually balling in the playoffs if you actually watch the games until the finals. And even with Dwayne Wade's knees being shot, they still won game 2 on the road. You know what I mean? In Texas. And again, I don't want to keep hearing this stuff. Teams have won despite injured players, you know? And again, people keep saying, oh, LeBron balled out in the 2014 finals. Okay, people need to look at the context. LeBron, you got to watch the full game, not just the stat sheet. You know, LeBron was doing his damage when the game was over. You know what I mean?
Empty stats. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you have these Bron nut huggers don't want to understand that. You know, they're quick to call us haters because they don't like facts. You know.
Yeah, he had a lot of empty stats in that series, man. That's what I'm trying to say, man. I don't like players that always have the ball in their hands and want to do everything. You gotta let your teammates develop too, man. And that's my issue with it all. That's just my issue. That's my issue with guys like Scottie Pippen, LeBron James, those type of players, man. Because it's like you're not letting your other guys on the team to develop their own skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Big Lou. Go ahead, Big Lou. Chime in on that.
Well, what do you think, Lewis? What's your opinion?
Let me just check real quick in the chat right before I gotta go on. All right, Freddie Gee says, Jay Jeff, man, you gotta rebound and you gotta play defense. So that's kind of part of the effort. Nah, being an FYE head, aka ball hog, is stat padding as well. Corey says Kawhi was too much. If you watch that series, LeBron couldn't guard him. Kawhi dropped 29 on him, and Kawhi had clamped everybody. Yeah, I know. Bron scored 51 is 81 points in garbage time. Yeah, that's yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. If you look at that, but what I'm trying to say is that people only look at outside the numbers in that series. They always look at Bron averaged 27. He shot 55%. That'd be great until you start watching those games.
True.
You look at his numbers through the first 3 quarters, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought Bron was like killing. Then you look and you're like, wait, why is Bron playing all these minutes and they don't got a chance to win? They're like, well, in case that they can make a comeback. That's one of the excuses that those make. I'm like, they're not winning the game, so why is he out there? It doesn't make any sense. But it's to kind of make his numbers look good though. But But anyway, getting back to this though. Corey was saying that the Heat defense could have been better. The Spurs scored on a record margin. Well, yeah, Freddie was mentioning the point. The Spurs shot the hell out of the basketball. But that was because they moved the ball really well. And I said it before, when your ball movement is so crisp, your defense, and they don't know how to stop the ball, you're going to get killed from everywhere on the court. If you can't stop the ball, if you can't see the ball, you don't know where the ball is moving, you're going to get stopped. It doesn't matter what type of, you could be a great defense. If you don't know where the ball is, you're going to get killed every time. That's why they were losing. If you look at the open threes the Spurs got with that ball movement, the Heat, they were all packed in the paint. They were late on getting closeouts. I can't tell you how many open looks Patty Mills got in that series. He got
Tell me about it.
Danny Green too. Yep.
Danny Green, Patty Mills. And here's the thing. I understand the Spurs shot well. I get
Gary
that.
Neal.
But it's also the defense that's not communicating. Listen, the Spurs ball movement was great. It was amazing. But it's also the Heat defense that's not rotating to the shooters. So I really don't want to hear that. You know, you also have to open your mind that it's the Miami defense not hustling back on the shooters. And like you said, Lewis, packing the paint. Again, I understand San Antonio's offense was great, but Miami watches game film. It's not, you got to watch the game film and see what you can do to strengthen your defense. You know what I mean?
All right, man. So getting back on this conversation right now. Let me ask y'all each of this. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions before we close out the show. So let me ask y'all this right now.
Okay.
Do y'all think that this championship? Do y'all think that are we gonna find out about the Lakers? Did they deserve this championship, or are people thinking that what they just won is really more so just as a bubble NBA title, in your opinion? Because I'm gonna get off my opinion really quick, and I gotta call a little bit out on Freddie Gee here, man. If y'all remember, we all said, well, especially what I said I didn't care who won this championship. I felt like it was an asterisk in its own right, period. And the reason being is because I've been watching some videos where they've been talking about how difficult this championship was. What the media is telling you is that it's the most difficult championship because due to COVID and due to the fact that a lot of these guys, with this pandemic going on, how people were kind of isolated from their homes and all this kind of stuff. The reason I say it's not is because of this. All this social justice stuff is the reason that people are not watching basketball. They decided to mix politics with sports. MLB TV ratings were down in the championship series and even in the game one of the World Series. You look at the NFL when they decided to go quote unquote woke, their ratings went down, despite the fact that NFL ratings were actually better than NBA ratings. Now, what I was trying to tell you is, I want to give Bron credit, but here's the problem. Do you wonder why I didn't do a single game of the NBA Finals this year? And Jay was looking at me like, yo, I'm wondering why I didn't even do a game. Here's why. Viewership was down. So people really weren't even watching the games. And I'm saying to myself, if you're the best player in basketball, why is viewership going down instead of up? You're supposed to elevate viewership because you're in the second biggest market in LA. So you're supposed to want me to watch you.
Right.
That did not happen. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And it's like, it's to the point now that, and I was saying, I gave congratulations to LeBron because I'm not going to come in here and try to rain on his parade. I said, I gave him a congratulations because if I really hated, I could have just said, oh, it doesn't count. Oh, it's not this, it's not that. So I gave him his congratulations. But what I'm trying to basically say is that I said from the beginning, I don't care who won this title. It's a COVID championship because let's be really honest. There was a stoppage in play. We had players had 4 months off. And what makes it really sad about it is that they're trying to make it seem like if they're pushing for all this social change, but it's like none of that happened before you all decided to play. So when I saw that whole Jacob Blake thing in Milwaukee, I said BS from the beginning. I said BS from the beginning because I said at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. It's a business, so they're gonna put the money first. So when I hear these max players talk about how they're trying to make change, I don't want to hear that BS. Y'all got paid already. Y'all got paid. So y'all gonna say that BS talking about, oh yeah, cancel the season. Nah, it don't matter because you got paid. The ones that don't make the money that you guys make, they're not gonna want the season to be canceled.
Right.
And then when I hear these dudes like a George Hill and them and say, oh, we shouldn't be down here, a part of me is kind of like, well, yeah, you don't want to let your team down because you want to win a championship, but why are you down here if you didn't want to come down here? And then I'm listening to a guy like Giannis, and I'm listening to a guy like Giannis. Giannis is talking about this is going to be the hardest championship won. That kind of tells me that you kind of was making an excuse in case you ain't win. So basically, what you're basically telling me is, I'm sorry. I don't like, and I don't like, and I'm not saying that we didn't see some good competition. I'm not saying we didn't see some good games, but I'm just sorry. The atmosphere just wasn't the same, and I felt like Adam Silver has got a lot to do with this. The fact that he lets players run the league, and I'm sorry, David Stern. I was not a big David Stern fan, but he didn't even let his media creation run the NBA.
Right.
And Michael Jordan. He didn't even let his media creation run the league. The most marketable player probably in NBA history in Michael Jordan. Yeah. He didn't let him run the league.
In sports history.
And we know how much he catered to Michael. We know how much he catered to Michael. Because I've always said this before. Magic and Bird, they saved the game. Jordan made the game global. I've always said that. I've always said that. Magic and Bird saved the league, and Jordan made it global. So I want to get y'all's opinion on, like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that with this championship, the real test for the Lakers is going to be, how do they do it in more normal circumstances, a full 82 with crowds in the league, in the NBA, in NBA arenas? Are they going to get the opportunity, or if they happen to not win next year, with some of these teams improving, is it going to be kind of looked at as a fluke in a way?
Go ahead, G Money. You can go first.
Okay, thank you. I always say every championship is valid because 22 teams went through the same circumstance in the bubble. Okay. The Lakers, to me, yes, they were fortunate playing the Blazers, Rockets, Nuggets, and the Heat with injuries. But here's the thing. Injuries are part of the game, and they earned it. LeBron, AD, Rondo, Caruso, KCP made big plays when it needed to. You know what I mean? Markieff Morris is huge off the bench, too. I do think if the Heat were healthy, it would have won 7 games, in my opinion. But to me, the Lakers just showed toughness, ball movement, player movement, and interior defense. You know what I mean? And LeBron and AD showed why they're the best duo in the NBA, in my opinion. But here's the thing, right? If we're going to I don't put an asterisk on the Lakers championship. But if we're going to put an asterisk on the Raptors 2019 title, then you better put an asterisk on the Lakers 2020 title. You get what I'm saying? Because both teams went against injured teams in the finals. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that injuries are a part of the game, but I'm saying is that I'm not going to put an asterisk on the Lakers championship because the Clippers, the Bucks, the Celtics, etc., had opportunities to win the title and didn't get it done. The Lakers took that advantage and did a champs of the world. But even if they lose next year, even if they lose in 2021, I'm still going to say this championship is valid because you worked your tail off to get to that point with great coaching, great ball movement, find the right lineups. Frank Vogel did a great job with his lineups and rotations. You know what I mean? Rajon Rondo did a great job pushing the pace to get other guys involved and hit big threes, which we haven't seen before with Rondo. Crazy, huh? LeBron and AD were huge on both sides of the ball, okay? And that's when Markieff Morris was huge, hitting big threes off the bench. What I'm saying is this. I don't put an asterisk on the Lakers championship. I think the Lakers title is valid. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to put an asterisk on the Raptors championship in 2019, you better put an asterisk on the Lakers 2020 championship. Because I always say injuries are a part of the game, and you cannot control what happened. You know what I mean? You gotta get it done.
Real quick, I gotta say this right now. The reason I'm kind of mentioning this word asterisk because G Money is talking about how he holds every championship to a certain standard and a certain merit. I gotta say this, and I don't want to go back, but I have to go back a little bit to 2015 and 2016, and here's why. Because we can't go and just say that because LeBron and Kyrie, if Kyrie and Kevin Love were there, that the Cavaliers will win the championship. Here's what I think. If Kyrie and Kevin Love are on that team fully healthy, the Cavaliers would have beaten the Golden State Warriors, and I'm a regular saying that, and I really do believe they would have won.
Yeah.
And then I come back and say this about 2016. Steph Curry was injured, but
he was hurt.
Yep. He was, and he didn't. And here's the thing: he didn't make any excuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Bogut ended up tearing his ACL when he got undercut by J.R. Smith in Game 5.
No.
Yeah.
People forget that. People forget that, and the thing is that the reason that I'm saying that Andrew Bogut was huge is because he's a rim protector. I'm not talking about.
Look at LeBron's first 2 games when Bogut was in that lineup.
He was guarding the interior, and don't forget they can do pick and roll with Steph Curry. Like you can do lobs to Bogut, you know.
Okay, and I'm continuing. Andre Iguodala, his back, he was having back issues pretty much from the middle series to the end. You got Harrison Barnes, who couldn't hit it from like probably Game 3 all the way to Game 7. He was laying a brick house, so he was making a brick house for me because he pretty much couldn't shoot out of a barn out of the whole series. And what I was basically saying is Harrison Barnes missing all those shots. What did that allow LeBron to do? He didn't have to play Harrison Barnes straight up. What that allowed him to do was he got to roam around defensively. He got to stand around a lot more. So he didn't have to take the energy. He basically, he played free safety and didn't have to he could pretty much be a free defender. He was a free safety in that series. What changed was, and also people forget also, Festus Ezeli played like garbage. Same thing with.
He was terrible. The last 3 games terrible.
So did Leandro Barbosa. Mr. Mo Buckets, who was trolling LeBron recently on Twitter
he was garbage in that series.
He was garbage too.
Terrible.
He was garbage too. And what I'm telling you is when Bogut was no longer in the lineup, LeBron and Kyrie had free roam to drive to the basket. They had free roam to drive to the basket. And once they got mismatches, the Warriors began to foul a lot because now they had issues guarding the perimeter, preventing LeBron and Kyrie from getting into the paint.
Right.
So that's why I say that even with the injuries, the Warriors were still able to go to Game 7. And what I'm basically saying is that if we're going to say that LeBron was without Kyrie and Kevin Love because they were hurt, then we have to say that the Warriors were hurt when a lot of circumstances had to happen for that 3-1 lead to dissipate for the Cavaliers to win that series. Just like how we say that. So basically what I'm saying is I'm giving credit to the Cavaliers championship just as much as I'm giving credit to the Warriors championship in 2015. That's why I said that those championships cancel each other out. And it's like I said before, if LeBron is facing Harrison Barnes instead of Kevin Durant, I said this before and I'll say it again. I get that the Warriors were 73-19, but the 73-19 that you thought you were going to see in the playoffs, that was not the same team that we saw. When Steph Curry got injured, they had to change their style of play with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. First of all, they became more of a half-court team. It was more difficult for them to get in transition. It made them easier to guard because there's no Steph Curry. Steph draws a lot of attention. So because of that, there's no ring maestro. Guess what? You're asking Klay to be your number one offensive guy. And let's be real honest with ourselves.
Klay Thompson's not that guy.
Klay Thompson predicates his game off of Steph Curry. He's a good defender. Klay Thompson, in my opinion, is arguably, you could probably put him in the top 3 as greatest catch and shoot players probably in NBA history when we talk about Klay. when we talk about pure shooting form, Klay Thompson is probably right there, top 5, top 3. So I'm not sitting here saying that Klay is some scrub, but it's basically telling you how well he complements Curry. But it's crazy that a point guard like Steph Curry garners all that attention and is able to score at a high clip with basically making threes and then occasionally mixing his game up and goes to the basket, because that's what frustrates me about Curry. He hits volume threes at such a high clip, he tends to fall in love with that shot. And I'm saying Curry,
that's true.
Curry,
he has an outstanding floater that he don't even use all the time.
He needs to use the float and use the dribble drive.
And that's what I'm saying. But that's why I said that with Curry. I said that he really should focus on tightening his dribble. I said if he doesn't have to be fast, because he's not a fast player. But I'm saying tighten up your dribble. It's going to be harder the defense is going to be much harder for the defense to guard you. I mean, take a look at Kyrie Irving. He doesn't turn the ball over because his dribble is tight. He keeps the dribble low, and he keeps the dribble low. And that's what I said. Okay, so Freddie Gee says that Kyrie and K-Love were more vital to the Cavs than Bogut for the Warriors. No offense after that. I don't know if the Cavs win in 2015. Would love to see it, though. No, I think the Cavs win in 2015 because if you look at that game one, you saw how effective Kyrie was before he got hurt.
Kyrie was cooking Curry going to the basket.
Like, first of all, that game was, if you look at the Cavs, they won game 2 without Kyrie Irving. They won game 3 without Kyrie Irving. You're telling me if Kyrie Irving's not in that series that the Cavs can't pull off and win that series? And you're talking about Kevin Love with the rebounding? Here's the reason why I gotta say, first of all, Kyrie and Kevin Love are more important just because they're 2 extra bodies. You're talking about 2 all-star players that are not there. But remember, those guys is regarded as though LeBron was the reason that they won everything. And I'm not saying LeBron did driving force, but LeBron did have help in that series. And what I'm basically saying is the Warriors defense, it changed when Andrew Bogut went out. First of all, what is Bron's biggest strength? Bully ball. LeBron
get to the basket. Yeah.
You take away Andrew Bogut. All LeBron has to do is get his mismatches on the perimeter. There ain't nobody in that back end that's going to be blocking his shot.
Yeah, when Bogut went down, that goes their rim protection. Like look at his games
for Cleveland.
Look at his games at game 1 and game 2 when Bogut was on that floor, man. Just watch that series and look at game 1 and game 2.
But don't forget, Tristan Thompson was balling the last 2 games too, because the last 3 games, because Tristan Thompson was killing a zillion on the boards, getting the Cavs extra opportunities though. Tristan Thompson was huge the last few games.
Yeah.
Real quick before Godzilla goes, the Klay's defense kind of reminds me a little bit of Kobe's in terms of the fact that people were like, well, Kobe never put up steal stats and stuff like that. Kobe's defense really wasn't meant to get steals. Now, does he take a lot of chances on defense? Yeah, when he tries to try to get steals and all that. But if you look at Kobe's positioning, Kobe is just looking to try to shut you down and force you to take a tough shot. Klay's not looking to just try to steal the ball. He's really just trying to make you uncomfortable and make you take a difficult shot. That's basically what he's trying to do. He's trying to keep your numbers down by not taking the ball away from you, but making you work on the offensive end by playing good style defense.
Let me make this one comment. I'm sorry, but let me make this one comment right quick. Mm-hmm. Now we was talking about Scottie Pippen earlier, right? We was talking about Pippen. Now he is the greatest perimeter defender of all time. I'll give you that. He had a lot of steals in his career, but what I didn't know that he only had 1 steals title in his whole career, just 1.
Crazy.
Ain't that crazy? He only won the steals title once.
But if you look at Scottie Pippen's career, though, if you look at Scottie Pippen's career and you look at the way Scottie defended, and you would think with his intangibles, he probably would have had, as many steals as because he did have many steals in his career.
Yeah.
But check this out. Scottie was again one of those players that was about, he was another one that was about positioning and shutting guys down too, in terms of making them work on the offensive end. So, and his steals kind of came more natural, not just off of just deflections. Because remember, Scottie has the ability to play one-on-one and has the ability to pretty much roam like a free safety. So Scottie is pretty much a Spectre Gadget. So he's Mr. Versatility pretty much all over the court. So, and I doubt Scottie would play. I think in terms of like trying to get steals, I don't think that's a stat that for sure that he was trying to get. But I do agree with you to an extent in terms of Scotty. Sometimes trying to be this all around player kind of really hinders your teammates somewhat because you're doing everything, and people have to remember that you're exerting more energy, to be honest, when you're trying to do a little bit of everything.
Yes, that's the point I was trying to make. That was the point I was trying to make. But go ahead, Big Blue. I'm sorry.
And I'm gonna let Godzilla talk real quick because you got to remember because Michael was doing pretty much everything that some of these guys were doing. And guess what? How much longer would Michael's prime have been had Michael been pretty much doing all of that? Now, I give LeBron a lot of credit that, he's been able to do it for so long. But you got to say to yourself, at what point do you burn yourself out trying to do all those plays? Because, you got a team behind you that, you can really – and my thing is it's really more so just as a team, just try to move the ball, man. But go ahead, Godzilla, man. What you got?
I think that the Lakers, and I'm just going to say this in general for the playoffs, the bubble was different, but I think it still counted. Now, let me tell you why. In the playoffs, it's all about survival. Sometimes the best team doesn't win. It's the team that survives. Sometimes it's not about winning. Think about 2010 Kobe versus Celtics. It was a survival. They barely won off of Ron Artest's 3 and Pau Gasol's and 1. Like, sometimes you get a team that's even. I mean, how many 7-game series have we seen come down to the last ball at the last minute, and the team that makes the right play down the stretch wins that game? Doesn't necessarily mean that they were the better team. No, but they're the team that executed. So now they are the better team because of their execution. So I think in the playoffs, with LeBron James, being Damian Lillard, which for all intents and purposes for me, the Blazers should have never made it. It should have been the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were the rightful AC.
Grizzlies, or even the Suns too, or even the Suns.
I thought the Suns should have got in personally.
And it was just basically that play-in rule that helped them get in there because the Grizzlies with the toughest schedule, they were the 8th seed. They're the only ones that beat the Lakers in like a 10-game stretch where they played the Bucks and the Clippers and beat them, but they couldn't beat the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies beat them. So I think the Grizzlies were the rightful 8th seed, and they got that stripped away from them. And look, in his last game, John Morant put up his career high against Damian Lillard, the bona fide best point guard in the league.
He's a poor defender, though.
I felt so bad for Ja. Ja was killing the Blazers with his dribble penetration, athleticism, and his 3-ball was falling too.
Yeah, Damian Lillard's a poor defender, though.
Guys, we're not even considering. There was no Jalen Jackson. He wasn't even playing.
Oh, exactly. He got hurt at the wrong time. Yeah. But here's the thing that kills me.
Yeah, Jackson was hurt. Yep. Jalen Jackson was hurt.
But here's the thing. But I want to throw this out there, right? Remember when the Blazers played the Nets that night on TNT? If Karis LeVert just drove to the basket, taking a fadeaway jump shot, Brooklyn would have won that game, right? And it would have eliminated Portland from playoff contention. We would have had Phoenix and Memphis in the play-in,
Mm-hmm. And I also think on top of that, when we think about, them being let's not even bush around it because the Lakers are the champions. But I'm just gonna go through each series and talk about the different circumstances of their championship. Okay, the Blazers at the end of their series had 9 players. They didn't even have a full roster. No, Trevor. If they had their full roster, they wouldn't have been 8th. They would have been probably 4th or 5th. The Jazz, the way they were playing in the middle of the season, they probably would have been the 8th seed or somewhere around there. Or the Grizzlies. So you got that, and they got past them because they just didn't have a complete roster at all. So then we head to the second round. Houston, small ball. Russell Westbrook comes off an injury. And this makes the Houston Rockets look particularly bad because I think the small ball could have worked with Chris Paul having 5 guys who can hit threes. Mm-hmm. And can we put some respect on Chris Paul's name because he took this team 7 games. It took literally James Harden almost got outplayed by Louis Dort.
Louis Dort had 30 in Game 7, bro.
Yeah, I heard rookie. Nobody even heard of this guy score 30.
And literally, James Harden choked. Literally, even though they won the series, it's kind of a hall of victory. Chris Paul went to another team, elevated them over Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and they were one bad play away from beating guys. One bad play. So really,
Lewis got that face.
Listen.
But here's the thing, Godzilla.
Hold on, real quick.
James Harden, a top 5 player, guys. He's a top 5 player.
Okay.
Yo, don't make me laugh with that.
He's a good scorer. He's the second best scorer next to Jordan.
Listen, James Harden, the Houston Rockets. I said it from the beginning of the season. And listen, shout out to my boy Clay Pro. I kept telling him for the longest time, that team isn't going to win a championship. I said, you got James Harden, you got Mike D'Antoni, and you got Russell Westbrook. That's all you need to know that you're not winning a championship.
Dragon right there.
The reason I said that is
I agree.
The reason I said that was because listen, even with the way the Clippers were playing against the Nuggets, I still didn't trust them against the Clippers neither, because the reason being is because just look at the mentality of Russell Westbrook. It just lets me know his head is just not where it needs to be, and he's been in the league for 12 years. We're not talking about 5-year runs. We're not talking about 3-year runs. We're not even talking about maybe even 7th year, 8-year runs. We're talking about a dude that's been in the league for over a decade. And you're telling me that you still haven't learned anything of what it means to play IQ team ball at this point in your career. And then with James Harden, the dude is strong at 6'5", 220, 230 pounds. And you choose not to play defense, but all you care about is winning MVPs and how you've been getting robbed of MVPs and scoring. Dude, if you really want to prove you're the best player in the league, you need to play both ends of the floor in the playoffs. You choose to play. And even though he was good at that, you went up against an OKC Thunder where you were heavily favored and you almost lost the series. If Luguentz Dort gets an open look at a 3, I'm not saying that it goes in, but he has a better chance of knocking that shot in had James Harden not make that block. And then what happened in the next series? I said that they were going to lose in 5 games to the Lakers. I said 5. I said I'm giving the Rockets maybe 1 game, but that's it. Against the Portland Trailblazers, that's another dumb IQ basketball team. Because look
at God. Oh, listen, man.
That's the dumbest team of all time, man. The Portland Trailblazers.
Listen, man. In regular circumstances,
just look at the history.
Listen, that Blazer team was not going to be in the playoffs if we went through the regular 82, because look how long it took Zach Collins and Nurkic to get healthy. Regular 82, the Blazers are not even sniffing the playoffs, so they got fortunate.
I agree, man.
And then if you look at the bubble, they were in a lot of close games against teams that they shouldn't have been in close games with. Look at Brooklyn. They had a freaking D squad out there, and they still almost lost that game if Paris LeVert doesn't take a step back and tries to go into the paint.
That was a stupid shot at LeVert. But Lewis, I want to throw this out there. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but didn't the Sixers without Ben Simmons and a banged up Joel Embiid who barely played almost beat the Blazers? People forget about that.
The Blazers had a double-digit lead in that game, and they almost
choked.
They almost choked, and that's why I hate the fact that Damian Lillard gets all this credit for how much he's carrying that Blazer team, but he don't even play a lick of defense.
He don't play no defense. It's like he's allergic to it.
CJ don't play defense. And listen, I get that they're undersized, but they put no effort on that end of the floor. Another thing I don't like about Damian Lillard, he doesn't share the basketball. That dude is too ball dominant when it comes to scoring.
Yes.
He doesn't share that ball. And I get that they're lacking a wing player, because they really do need a wing player. They're missing they need a 3. I feel like they need a small forward on that team.
Right.
But also their coaching is not good either. Terry Stotts,
idiot. He's an idiot. He's an idiot.
Garbage.
ISO ball. But I want to throw this out there, right? People forget the Mavs almost beat the Blazers. Remember when Dame had a 60-plus point game? The Mavericks should have beat the Blazers, because I remember a play when Dallas was down by 1, right? But Trey Burke did a stupid offensive foul when Vinny Smith had the 3 at the corner. You know what I mean? If Trey Burke just doesn't push off Dame and Vinny Smith hits the 3 at the corner, the Mavericks would have won that game potentially, and the Blazers would have been eliminated earlier. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
All right, man.
That's true. Facts.
Wait.
Good.
Because, and this just comes back to how low IQ the Rockets are. Now, I remember me and Lewis were in another live stream. We were talking about the greatest team that never win a title.
Yeah, I was
James
there too.
Harden.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot you when you were there too. This team, James Harden, in the best circumstance, with a better team than Golden State, had them down 3-2. Chris Paul goes down,
3-2.
but they still
And Luke
they
Bahamute too. And
they still it took them to miss 27 threes in game 7. Now, where is somebody's mind in that game 7? Do we need to go to the paint and use our dribble drive skills and just put
I
like
agree.
10 points on the board and win the game? And then there's a
But here,
championship because there's no way Cleveland beats them. Because what would have happened was
I disagree with that, man.
No.
Okay. Here's what's
Cleveland would have beat them. Cleveland would beat them.
Oh no,
Cleveland.
I don't know about that.
Cleveland would have
think
got
so.
smashed. Because
I disagree with that.
Let me give you a reason why. Not only do you have Chris Paul, not only do you have Trevor Ariza, who's going to be guarding LeBron James, you're going to have who on Cleveland's going to shut down? You're going to have to put Kyrie or J.R. Smith.
Oh yeah, they did have Trevor Ariza. I forgot about that.
Godzilla. Kyrie was not on the 2018 Cavs. He was on the Celtics that year.
Okay. So excuse me. Sorry. Okay, let me rephrase that. They get swept. Let me rephrase that.
I disagree with that, man. I disagree.
There's no way that all these pieces that can't fit in with each other are going to be a team that literally on defense, all they're going to do is crowd LeBron James. He can't get to the rim since Clint Capella's there. Then they're going to get the ball, run down and hit a three, which they repeatedly did to the Warriors. Repeatedly, just ran down to the other side and bombed the three on them. And then who's going to guard James Harden?
James Harden's inconsistent in the playoffs, bro.
But against J.R. Smith, like I'm sorry, it's not like he's facing the Lakers now, the Warriors, who are a better, I think, all-around defensive team that had more chemistry. This team could barely beat Victor Oladipo and the Indiana Pacers.
That series was 7 games.
Got screwed. Yeah. Indiana should have won in 6, man. Indiana got screwed in game 5.
That's how bad they were.
The Cavs were not bad. Listen. The Cavs were not bad in 2018. They were inconsistent. There's a difference, though. They were inconsistent. They were not bad. You know what I mean?
No. Let me.
But here's what people
right. They weren't bad. They were inconsistent because they didn't have any chemistry. That's where the bad came from. It's not their talent. They had talent. But geez, you're trying to tell me that they lose a series against LeBron James when Houston has a legit super big man that stopped the Golden State Warriors. Then has Trevor Ariza, then has PJ Tucker. They can go small, big, any type of way. Like what?
You do have a point. You do have a point, but here's the thing, though, right?
Hold on a second, real quick. This is why I don't ever give a pass to the Houston Rockets of 2018, even if Chris Paul was injured. It's not like if y'all got blown. But here's the thing. Even without those guys, you had two double. It's like with the Boston Celtics of 2010 against the Lakers when they were up 3-2. And I don't give them a pass neither because even if Kendrick Perkins got injured, they still had a 13-point lead and couldn't close the deal. So you were up double digits. It's not like if Kendrick Perkins was gone and you get blown out or you struggle to score or you're struggling to defend. Your defense gave you a 13-point lead. That's number one. With the Rockets, they were double digits in both games 6 and 7. That's basically telling you that you can argue that the Rockets had the team built to beat Golden State. The problem is they did not get the job done, and that's because they settled for those 3-point shots instead
and that's
of
on coaching.
And that's on coaching
and bad IQ by players.
And that's why I said that as important as Chris Paul is, when you still have a double digit and Bahamute, you're putting high emphasis on them, but the bottom line is that they had 2 double-digit leads, bro. That's at the end. At the end of the day, James Harden has got to do the job, and he ain't do it along with the rest of that team. Those threes really tired them out.
He is the Tony Romo of the NBA. I already said that for years.
Tony Romo, Judah of the NBA.
You even had to talk about what happened in 2018, or excuse me, 20, or was it 2019?
2019 was disgusting, man. Like
that was disgusting, bro. That was
disgusting. That was worse. No Boogie Cousins. Think about this. No Boogie Cousins because he was hurt against the Clippers. And no KD in game 6 and possibly game 5. You can't win? Come on, man.
Trailblazers was even worse. How about this?
Blazers
They was
choked
up
in the
double
conference
digit
final.
every game against the Warriors, and they still lost. Double digits
That's
in
what I'm
every
just
game.
saying. The
Every fucking
Blazers should have
game.
made but listen, the Blazers should have made the finals in 2019. Listen, the Warriors did earn their run. You gotta give Golden State credit, but Portland choked that series. Listen, in game
Dumbest
2,
team in
blew
NBA
it.
history, the Portland Trailblazers.
I know, but listen, game 2,
Got
they blew a
swept by 8
17-point
without
lead.
LeBron.
Game 3 blew an 18-point lead. Game 4 blew a 17-point lead. Like, come on, man.
It's pretty
Like,
simple when I say
it should
the
have been.
Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers, I said it before and I say it again. The Denver Nuggets would have gave them a better matchup than what the Blazers did. And because the reason is
I
they had the
agree.
big that Golden State could not deal with. The reason that the Blazers were in those Western Conference Finals, one part was because of CJ McCollum, but who
Yep.
was on that team? Seth Curry, brother of who? Seth Curry. And what were they going to do? They were going to make a storyline about the Seths, because I told you NBA is about storylines.
Lines. Yep.
And
That's
I
true
told you,
storylines.
did you and I said it before, Damian Lillard was making excuses because he, before the series, says that they got the team to beat Golden State. And like y'all was mentioning, they had 3 double-digit leads. So why is it after game 4 you're talking about you didn't have Yusuf Nurkic? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Then he was saying he was better than Curry. He was saying he was better than Curry that year too.
And I want to throw this out there. Listen, but here's what I think of that. All right, there's no excuses for Portland. Here's what I believe. If the Blazers were fully healthy and the Warriors did not have Kevin Durant, I think the Blazers go to the NBA Finals. If the Warriors did not have KD, you know what I mean?
I can't say that.
Nurkic was healthy. I can say that because you got to watch the series into context. Listen, I understand the Warriors were great in 2019, but here's the thing. The Warriors went 6 games against the Clippers, okay, who was an 8 seed when they had KD. There's no one's convincing me without KD. No one's convincing me without KD. Portland's not in the finals if Nurkic is healthy. No one's convinced me that.
Wait a second. KD got injured in the second round. They played without KD, and they beat him.
Exactly.
I know, but
so what are you
look
talking
at the
about?
context. Listen, look into context, though. Look at the context. Those games were close, though. Listen to me. I said without KD. Listen, without KD and a healthy Blazers team with Nurkic, I think Portland beats them. That's what I'm saying. With
Golden State still wins
again.
I disagree. If Durant's not there,
because
I disagree,
stupid
man.
IQ, and then Damian Lillard not stepping up in the big moments.
And I think
we're
thinking about only offensively. What about defensively? Nurkic is a high, IQ defender.
Nurkic blocks shots in the post. Again, I know, but again, you can say same thing with Montrezl Harrell in 2019, and the Warriors won 6 games with them. Yeah.
G-Money, I gotta stop you right there, man. I'm sorry. I can't let you continue. First of all, we saw. Look, and I get that Yusuf Nurkic was not fully healthy, even going up against the Los Angeles Lakers in this bubble. But Yusuf Nurkic is not a defender, and having him could have helped with the rebounding and all that kind of stuff. But when I look at the Blazers, my issue with them is IQ, and they don't show the IQ to be able to finish late in games. Whether they have a lead, whether they're in a close game, the Warriors will find a way to win. I don't see the Blazers beating Golden State.
Game 1. That's all I can say.
I'm not
saying I can hear you, but without
look at the
KD,
Blazers' history. Never.
Without KD, I don't see it. Without KD, here's the thing, right? If they couldn't listen.
Look at the history of the Blazers.
People made it. I know. Listen, I'm not saying the Blazers were great. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this, okay? You have to consider this. Golden State wasn't very deep. This matters, though. Golden State wasn't very deep last year. I'm saying without KD. In my opinion, if Portland had a big center that it could feed down low and Nurkic and Durant's not there to worry about, I think the Blazers win that series, though, in my opinion.
Well, didn't they have a big man? Didn't they have Whiteside, or Whiteside wasn't there yet?
Whiteside was not on the Blazers last year. It was Enes Kanter. Listen, Enes Kanter can score, but Kanter is a terrible defender. That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. If Durant's healthy, the Warriors are winning that series, okay? Without Durant and a healthy Nurkic, I'm sorry, I got the Blazers in the finals. Because
I have to respectfully disagree with your opinion.
Hold on. I'm gonna close out the show, and again, I'm gonna end it with this point. I'm gonna counter it with another rebuttal because Enes Kanter is one of the best offensive rebounders in the game, and he's not a good defender. And also,
great rebounder.
Look what he did to
Nurkic.
Steve Adams. Do we not remember that?
And the thing is also, first of all, Enes Kanter can't defend, but Yusuf Nurkic is a very good rebounder himself. But guess what? He can't defend either. So basically, you're kind of getting the same thing. It's just one player is taller than the other, but you're kind of getting the same thing. So quite honestly, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because I said it before and I said it again. We could keep talking about pieces, but again, it comes down to a matter of coaching. What do you do in big moments, adjustments? Terry Stotts has a history in the playoffs of poorly adjusting to what a team does. And I've seen it over and over again with this Portland Trail Blazer team, no matter who he's had on his team. It is shown.
Just look at their history. They just are dumb. They just don't have IQ, man. Just look at their history.
I know.
Yep.
I've watched it. Even with a healthy Nurkic, I'm sorry, they're not going to win because again, it's all about it's about the IQ. Again, especially in late game situations, and the Blazers did it having an advantage over a Golden State team that did not have Kevin Durant, that did not have a healthy Boogie Cousins, who didn't come into the NBA Finals. That was the weakest that the Warriors had been, where the Rockets had an opportunity to close them out, and they lost, allowing Curry to go off in the second half when there was no KD. Look how much they struggled even with Kevin Durant when they were playing the Houston Rockets. And that was a worse team than the 2018 team.
Man, you had Draymond Green leading the attack, man. Get the hell out of here, man.
I hear you. I hear you, but like I said, man, I just think, and you have to consider this. Klay Thompson was struggling in the 2019 conference final. That matters, though. I'm saying is that without KD and with Klay struggling, if Nurk is healthy, I think they win. That's just me, though. I never said the Blazers were going to win the title. I never said that. I think they lose to the Raptors.
About that. We ain't talking about that. They definitely don't win the title.
I know they don't.
They don't win anything in life.
They lose. No, listen. I say Toronto would have beat Portland. I literally just said that. I'm saying with Klay struggling in the Western Conference Finals, the way he did against Portland, if you watch the games, and with no Kevin Durant and a healthy Nurkic, I think Portland had enough depth to win that series. That's what I said.
I don't see that. I don't see it.
Hold on. I'm going to close out the show with this, and this is the reason I'm saying why. G-Money, you just talked about Boogie Cousins being out. You just talked about Kevin Durant being out. You just talked about Klay Thompson struggling in those Western Conference Finals. And guess what? The Blazers still couldn't beat them with a struggling Klay Thompson.
They got not one game.
And then no Boogie Cousins. Getting Yusuf Nurkic.
Well, Draymond Green be the number one option.
but I'm sorry. The fact that you had a struggling Klay Thompson, no KD, no DeMarcus Cousins, and your ass still got swept. Does that say more about Golden State, or does that say more about the Portland Trail Blazers? And I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Damn.
Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to G Money. Salute to J Jeff, and salute to Godzilla Suplex.
And I want to throw this another point in. I am not no Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins has stupid taste. You know what I mean? Kendrick Perkins doesn't know basketball. Listen, I may have my own opinion, but I know the damn game. I just don't. I just have my own opinion. You can get angry all you want, but I don't care. It's the fucking. I'm sorry for my language. It's the damn comments. I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, I'm dumb. I don't know basketball. I'm Kendrick Perkins." No, I'm not. Kendrick Perkins doesn't know hoops. I know my hoops. I just have my own opinion.
Okay.
Listen, man.
I just want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
You know what's bad? You know what's bad out here? When the Blazers get swept by AD without LeBron. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
They lost in 5, man. They lost in 5.
They got swept. What?
They lost in 5. Listen, they lost in 5 to the Lakers. They won game 1. They lost 4 in a row.
I just
You said it got swept. I'm saying that Portland lost in 5. That's what I said. Against LA.
Wait, guys. Like you talking about the year that the Blazers went up against the Pelicans with AD, or are you talking about when AD was with the Lakers going? Oh, you
Oh,
talking about?
Pelicans. I thought you
With the
talking about
Pelicans.
Lakers. I'm sorry.
The Pelicans.
Pelicans, they got swept. I'm
I
sorry. I thought you talking about Lakers.
I
Excuse me.
said AD without LeBron. They
Yep.
got swept.
Oh, I get it. They got swept.
Yep.
That's true.
That's embarrassing, bro.
Without LeBron James on
Without LeBron James. Yep.
And
Come on,
last
man.
thing, and the crazy part was people were hyping up. They were hyping up the Blazers like because they had the number 3 seed, and I said if they ran into
fool's gold. Yep.
I said it. I said it, man. That was fool's gold. I said if they
Fool's
run into
gold.
I said, and Rajon Rondo's on that team. I said, Drew Holiday is playing the 2 guard. Oh, he gonna lock Lillard up. I said, watch. He's gonna lock Lillard up.
He did.
Damian Lillard defense is garbage, man, and it's always been that way.
And I want to throw this out there: the Lakers played the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. It should have been the Clippers, or you can very well argue this. All right, and this is my opinion. Okay, if the Mavs were fully healthy, I think they beat the Clippers in the first round.
They probably do. Yeah, they probably.
And G-Money,
they had a great chance.
And listen, I'm gonna end it with this. All year, I was disagreeing with you, but here's why I agree. Here's why I agree with you on what the Mavs were gonna knock them out. See, this is why. If you look at the body language of the Clippers, you can just tell and how much
they didn't want to be there.
Yeah. They didn't want to be there no more, man.
And how much they were having with Luka Doncic and Dallas Mavericks without Kristaps Porzingis. I said to myself, you know what? G-Money's absolutely right. They could have knocked them off of the playoffs. I said the Mavericks should have ended the series in 6 games. I was emphatic when I said that. They should have ended the Clippers in 6.
The Mavericks screwed up in game 1, yeah.
I'm going to say this right now. The Clippers got a fortunate break that they didn't get knocked off in the first round because it's embarrassing blowing a 3-1 lead. But imagine that you lose in the first round to the Dallas Mavericks that you were heavily favored over because, listen, normal circumstances, Clippers play with great chemistry and show that depth. Trust me, they run circles around that. They run circles around that Dallas team. It's just they struggle because they didn't want to be in that bubble, and you could tell guys were not motivated. They got too many things going on. I'm sorry.
And I want to throw this out there too. And I'm sorry, you can very well argue. I know the Jazz choked a 3-1 lead, and there's no excuse. If Bogdanovich was fully healthy, I think the Jazz beat the Nuggets. You can very well argue that.
I'm not making that excuse because they had a 3-1 lead. So I'm sorry, I can't do that. If it was a 2-2 series tie, if the Jazz were down 3-1 or something, or they just got outplayed, whatever. And mind you,
Mike Conley cost them that series. Mike Conley did. It's poor play.
Mike Conley, Gobert struggled the last 2 games. Carson was inconsistent. Even Mitchell. I know the numbers look good, but Mitchell, to me, in Game 7, did not take over down the stretch. You know what I mean? If you look at the whole Game 7.
He was exhausted, man.
I know he's exhausted, but that doesn't matter. Everyone's tired. But listen, watch this series into context, though. He did that for the first 6 games, but in the Game 7, if you really want to elevate your game and be a superstar, you got to get it done. I know you're tired, but so is every other player on the court. You still got to get it done. That's what I'm saying.
Jamal Murray doesn't have to carry the ball up the court every time.
Right, he don't.
That's what I was going to mention. And the thing is, what sets are the Utah Jazz running if all they're doing is going 1-4 with Donovan
ISO?
Yep.
That is.
They're using Gobert for picks, so that's why when you say put in context, there's a reason why Donovan Mitchell's going to be guessing missing all those shots is because as much as I don't give him a pass and I don't give the Jazz a pass, if he's your primary offensive weapon, you're not going to survive with that against a deep-ass Nuggets team. They got
Jokic. They 12, 13 deep, man. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
All right, guys. So this is the end of the stream, man. We went 3 hours in. A lot of heat.
This was lit, man. This is the best one, man. This was lit as hell. I like this one.
This is for next year in the off
man. No doubt. So I'm gonna be doing future streams. I'm gonna have you guys come on again with another panel. So we're gonna be doing more of these. So
anytime, man.
Salute to G-Money for coming through. Salute
G-Money,
to the suplex. Most of all, salute to my main man Jay Jeff coming in.
Salute my brother.
Salute to everybody in the chat. And y'all already know the deal, man. As Ron always says, we chat together, we stream together, we family for life on the Lewis Sports Network. I bid you a good night. Great stream. Bless up. Live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being part. And I got some fire content coming up with the basketball. So catch the replay. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to share. As I always say, man, Lewis Sports Network says, and I'm gone.
That's skied out to center field. Towering shot. AJ Pollock going back. That is gone. Big fly for Mike Trout. 2-0 Angels here in the first. Going back to getting a mistake. Breaking ball. Got it. Trout. Dead center field.
Manning's going to run. He cuts back at the one time for the goal line. Touchdown, Eli Manning.
On second and 4. Manning takes off. He's inside the 5 to the end zone. Dive. Touchdown. Away 1-on-2 behind the back. Splits throw. Oh, what a pass to Anderson. Hardaway. Oh, beautiful dish. Grant with the jam. The elevation now. Michael's had 2 shots blocked tonight. Penny Hardaway goes up, makes the move. He sees Horace